The teeth. Thank you for your email, man. Good to see you.
Oh, you got my email?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's talk. All right.
Thank you.
Meet next week or
Yeah,
something?
yeah, let's do it. That's awesome. Cool. Really enjoyed that.
I have to go there and just.
So there's nobody over there right now.
No.
I'm gonna go over there right now.
Is that?
I'm gonna go over there right now. And I'll text you.
Okay.
So a lot more people showed up than we expected. So you guys are accepting graduate students again?
Yes, sir.
Cool, congrats. Yay.
Thank you very much.
Happy. Yeah, it's a big deal.
Resolve with the sound?
So how you been doing? Working?
Yeah, a lot.
I'm teaching teatro, my first teatro class ever. You know what we should do? We should collaborate and bring Olivia Chumacero.
Yeah.
She's been one of my favorite, she's the one that taught me Veinte Pasos.
Yeah.
So but she's always so undervalued.
Yeah, I know.
So,
I mean, she's the main character.
Fucked it out,
Okay.
and it's just like 323-893-4654. I got Ana Castillo, and I sent out that flyer, and Eva's like, do you mind if she comes to UC? I'm like sending the flyer to support my event, not to. I'm cool with that either, though, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't cool,
I'm exhausted by it.
Yeah, no, but the thing is that my students are so when I go back to the student, right?
Yeah.
And so it's good, and I just have a lot of fun. So I'm serious, funding.
Yeah.
It's like, so that's why I could fund Olivia, and she would love it.
Yeah.
She's, man.
I don't think I'm not teaching the theater class, so I'm pretty maxed out until the end of the year.
And then you're writing too, huh?
Yeah, and I was on medical leave in the fall. I had major surgery.
I'm sorry to hear that. You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay, but it just set me back with a lot of my writing. And we're doing Moraga's The Hungry Woman in the spring.
Okay.
And I'm trying to figure out, I'm helping her dramaturgically.
So that's a lot of work.
I am teaching a class on it too.
Wow.
But I'm also, she's asking me to audition. And I've been in it. I was in it, the first production of it at
That's a
Stanford.
lot of energy, girl.
So one of my book chapters is about the Hungry Woman.
Okay.
And I'm teaching that to the Hungry Woman. So it would be deeply part of, but I have 2 weeks to meditate on it.
Cool.
It would also feel,
Yeah. That creative. Cool. All right. Hope you're talking. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Yeah. Tomas. Were you? Where did you
I feel like we met at a conference.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, my sister.
Well, nice to see you.
Yeah, likewise.
Cool. Are you in Santa Monica or where are you at? San Luis Obispo. Okay. Cool. What do you teach? No way. Oh, you're on the.
I'm on this panel.
Yeah. Want to sit down? Cool.
Yeah.
If you want to share, so you go first because you want to get together.
Sure, if that's what we prefer.
Yeah, you can speak with the mics here on.
Okay, yeah, maybe
So you
we'll
probably
table.
should, the two of you should sit together.
Yeah, since we're gonna do our
Not
comments
passing.
together.
So maybe
Yeah.
you're in the center.
Sure, we can do that. That's perfect.
And what's,
So
so
we
what,
just share the mics on.
so what's the order, Mario?
Jose and Janelle are going first. Teresa Montaña couldn't make it. So next will be moving. Frank Barajas is going to go on the US. And you follow Frank Barajas.
Okay, perfect.
And then on the meal, there's a lesson.
You want to get over there, Janelle?
Sure, yeah, let me squeeze past you.
Hey, how's it going, man? Good to see you. How's everything? Cool. So you're in San Luis Obispo still, right?
Yeah.
How about you? Cool. Santa Barbara City College.
Yeah, it's great.
Cool. Good to
You
see
mind
you.
if I squeeze in?
Yeah, go.
Can you click on
Or they can just post that one down. Good, man. Working. Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah.
Test. Gerardo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I have to carry that big old backpack up that hill, sweating. And just, no, so was I.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. We're going to be starting in just a second or two. Okay, so this our first panel this afternoon is on Chicana O Studies faculty and the contemporary relevance of Atlanta Santa Barbara. We're very fortunate to have representatives from our nearby campuses who will be speaking to that topic. This panel will go from 2 to 3:30. We're going to have a 15-minute break. And then the last panel of the afternoon with the students panel, both graduates and undergraduates, will start at 3:45. We'll go to 4:45. Conclude our proceedings, and then we'll all go, and everyone's invited, participants and others who are here, to the alum reception, which is at the Mosher Alumni House across the campus. So if you're not familiar with the campus, some of us who are familiar will just quote you. So let me first I'll introduce the whole panel first, and then individually as they speak. So we have Professor Jose Navarro from Chicano Studies at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. And Professor Teresa Montaño from Cal State Northridge was not able to be here, but she sends her regrets and wishes us well for the conference. And we have Professor Jose Alamillo from Cal State Channel Islands. Professor Janelle Navarro from I understood it once we got some 20 students here, so welcome. And then, of course, we have our own Professor Tomas Carrasco from Santa Barbara City College. And then Professor Frank Barajas from Cal State Channel Islands. Our first presentations is going to be a joint presentations by the two Navarros. So let me just say a little bit more about two of them. Professor Jose Navarro teaches ethnic studies at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. His research includes Latinx cultural and literary studies, and he's published in these areas in various journals. Professor Janelle Navarro teaches ethnic studies at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. research interests and publications are in the area of indigenous studies, hip-hop studies, and indigenous feminism. She's also the founder of Green Corn Collective. So they'll also do the presentation, so I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you. So I just want to echo Professor Aldana's land acknowledgement that he offered this morning, and just remind us all, for some of you that may not have been here, we are on Southern Chumash territories today, and we would like to pay regard and respect to those ancestral stewards. Hussein's comments are going to fall along the prompt that Mario sent to us, which is basically a three-part prompt. What is the meaning of El Plan to you? How is El Plan implemented in your department where we currently teach? And then what do we think of the legacy of El Plan for our students and even faculty members today? So I'll start with that first question. And I think, I really believe the heart and soul of El Plan is wrapped up in the quote that ends the manifesto at the beginning of the document. This quote reads, "At this moment, we do not come to work for the university, but to demand that the university work for our people." So, I think that is a forever demand. I don't think there's going to be any moment, probably in the academic industrial complex, where we stop demanding that the university work for us. But there are more of us now to make those demands, and so I see that as very fruitful and valuable. I also think that in terms of some of these specific demands that we make upon the university, that they constantly be renewed. And we see this happening amongst our own students at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, which happens to be the whitest and wealthiest of all public universities in our amazingly diverse state. So it many times can be a very frustrating place to be. There are a lot of challenges that are stacked against us, but I think we are seeing some movement towards definitely diversifying in meaningful ways, rather than just like diversity of thought. So we'll talk about some of those specifics today. I'll start there.
Good afternoon, thank you all for being here, and thank you, Don Mario, for the invitation. The meaning of the plan for me is slightly different, but perhaps more personal. I was an undergrad at Berkeley. I was born and raised in East LA, in the housing projects in Royal Heights, and so, going 500 miles away in the 1990s to Berkeley seemed like a world apart, a world away. It was very difficult for me being there. And going there, especially as an English major, I was very committed to the English. Forced to reach and also in the middle English there, right? There I am, a Chicano from English, walking the halls of Wheeler Hall, Duchan, actually, this kind of thing. And they're like, no, it's wrong that they have to win the shoe or something. I'm like, this is So it was a very jarring experience for me to go to university that far away from East LA, that far away from good battles, all that. The struggle's real. Going there and learning about it, Plan de Aslan, Plan Espiritual, Plan de Santa Barbara, and then seeing it in action when they had the hunger strikes at Berkeley and being there and witnessing it all, it was great. It was a legitimizing experience for me in a predominantly white university. One that reinforced for me that we belong, and even if we felt like we didn't belong, we need to remind people that we believe that this is our space and our place, especially a public university. When you think about the funding of the public university, my tax dollars, your tax dollars are always there. So whether we like it or not, it's always. We need to demand that people recognize that it's ours. So it was a personal, legitimate force in my life. That's, at Berkeley, we were very committed to that. My colega, Roberto Hernandez, who is somewhere here, I'll let you know, while we were there at Berkeley, Roberto changed himself to the clock tower to remind everybody that the university was ours. So it is ours, and that's what it did for us. It gave us a framework that legitimized our action. It gave us a framework to make those demands against the university. Is Christiane Garcia here, by the way, from our panel earlier? She got lost. I hope that's not metaphorical. Because I want to say, as a faculty member at Cal Poly in the Ethnic Studies Department, whose students are the leadership mentioned, first song she said was, oh, that was you. Ah, okay, well, let me say, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to your son, yeah, because let me tell you that the Mecha framework, the Chicana framework, the Chicanx framework that we believe in at Cal Poly, especially under our direction, is one that takes apart Logan's and Joe's conception of borderlands as home, as home space, as third space. One is the space of the type, the queer, the everything, and even the trans, and we'll talk more about that.
Okay, so we want to say a little bit about then LPLAN implemented in our department at Cal Poly. We are in ethics studies. We don't have Chicanx studies or indigenous studies majors, so we're all wrapped into ethics studies generally. The way in which we actually teach LPLAN, to our knowledge, we are the only two faculty members that teach it at our entire university, not just in our department, but I'm pretty sure at our entire university. And we have our students read it in their Intro to Ethics Studies class, which is a majors only class, so it's really nice to have maybe around 15 to 20 students around the table really interrogating this document. And one of the ways that I've seen it just be really fruitful for our students in the classroom is over the last even 5 years, our students have submitted their own lists of demands to Cal Poly's administration, and they've gone through and made literal comparisons, to outline in the document and thinking about how, yes, we've made some progress, but there are just a lot of things that have not changed in terms of the demands that still have to be met. That we need greater, student services. We need greater recruitment and retention of students of color and queer students of color. We need greater recruitment in clusters of faculty members of color, and a different kind of campus climate to make sure all of those constituencies, when we do get them to the university, that they will stay. So I think that's one way in which we really see a fund carried out in just our own department in terms of the courses that we teach. So that would be our Intro to Ethics Studies course for our majors. We can give a lot of examples of classes, but just in brief, I wanted to also just kind of think about a lot of the curricular development in LPLAN. I think a lot of that really is part of the legacy, the curricular legacy. So of course we are teaching classes about the history of racism, and I think one thing that's really important to me, perhaps a little bit distinct from LPLAN, is to actually teach the history of racism, especially at a university like Cal Poly that's very white and wealthy, but I think in other spaces too, from a settler colonial framework. Like, we have to let students know that when we're looking at the history of racism, we're dealing with 500 plus years of state violence, sexual violence, police brutality, right? But those things aren't new, they're just redesigned. And so I think that's a lot of our kind of curricular involvement in terms of our department.
Yeah, I'll just say, in terms of LPLAN, I mean, I love this, and our institution, our university, I just became an academic senator at our campus, and they, though I'm not yet tenured, I'm an associate professor, but not yet tenured, they put me in charge of diversifying the entire GE curriculum. So I was like, actually, I can't say that. But they did. They put me in charge of diversifying all of GE, all of the general education curriculum. And so one of the things I'm going to do about that is we're now going to propose a lower division cultural pluralism requirement and an upper division. We have one existing, but now we want to separate those two. And one of the wonderful things that I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the demands of El Plan de San Bárbara to this document and make it a part of the university resolution to make two requirements. So So that's one of the tricky things about the So the last prompt from Mario is the legacy of Plan. How we see things sort of currently and how we see things moving forward. The question is, what do you think of the legacy of Aslan is for today's students and faculty? And so I'm going to start because in thinking about the legacy of Aslan and thinking about today's faculty, I want to preface my comments by saying when I learned about Aslan and the concept, I learned it in a very basic way. That's that Aslan was the entire southwest of the U.S. Right? This is the concept of Aslan. And I loved it at the moment. I thought it was very strategic, especially for Chicanos, because when the Gauchos, all due respect to our vanilla guests here today, when the Gauchos came to us and told us, hey, go back to where you came from. Aslan is the parent of the Southwest, gave me the tools to say, well, I'm already here. Now your turn. Right? And it was that kind of strategic sort of moment for me, that political strategic kind of framework of the homeland. And it wasn't until later, in maturing and reading more, that I understand now that there's a kind of colonial logic, a separate logic to understanding Islam as the entire Southwest. It's one that covers up and embraces the indigenous peoples that are here. It covers up and erases the Shuman people that are here, the Tongva, the Tavian people, the Navajo, the Pueblo, all our other relatives that have already been here. Now, this is not to negate Aslan and these kinds of concepts, but in thinking about Aslan as the entire Southwest, we do damage. And this is, in my opinion, a colonial gesture. So in moving forward, thinking about both the legacy of Aslan and in moving forward, I think we need a call to re-understand Aslan, and then Aslan is the homeland of Chicana, we understand Chicana and Chicanx identity based on this new kind of framework. One that must force us to be better indigenous relatives to our existing relatives. We have to be better. We have to recognize their right to sovereignty. We have to recognize their right to their homelands, as well as understand our relative and relational sort of nature.
So, in responding to that prompt two and going off of Jose's comments, I'll quote Elfman as saying, we pledge our will to move, right? And I think the question is to where, what does that motion look like? And, on this particular topic, I do think we need a need for greater connections, particularly here in California with our California Indian relatives. I think that's incredibly crucial. I think as all of, in terms of Chicano studies really rising, I understand it's, we still deal with incredible kind of, funding issues and resources. But American Indian Studies has really seen incredibly drastic declines. And so I think if we actually ally together, as we should, as all indigenous relatives, again, I think leads to a stronger force to be reckoned with, which would be good for all of us, right? And here I think specifically about Upland, this is around like page 13 if we want to mark it on the document, but where the writers say, they give these really powerful critiques about American institutions, including the university context, because they do not share power, provide access, extend prestige, and prevent total participation. And I think if we just go off of those particular parameters and markers, we would necessarily become deeper in terms of relationality. We would be more balanced in terms of relationality than perhaps resource sharing. So maybe two quick examples I could give for ways that I think are just really promising for us to build these bridges between our indigenous communities would be one here at UC Santa Barbara. Just a handful of years ago, there was a wonderful exhibit actually led by Sal Larina titled Indigenous Peoples of the Americas. And Professor Aldana worked on that exhibit as well, and I wrote some of the text for it. It was a really beautiful experience to work with all of the local Chumash people, but also to have a lot of involvement from Chicanx studies here. and in terms of what we actually saw in the library, to walk into the UCSB library and have a little sister Tamal on the first floor of the library was so meaningful for our Chumash relatives. And then again, we had a lot of amazing Chicana screen prints, medicinal and ethnobotanical relatives in the exhibit. And so I think that's maybe one example of ways we can actually build these bridges. The other one I think is a very promising grant that was just announced in the UC system. It's a little bit over $1 million grant to develop what the faculty members who are part of it are calling critical mission studies. So to really look very, very critically at the California mission system for what it is, as incredibly violent, a place of enslavement, a place of gendercide, which is the Miranda's framework for killing people and their gender identities, etc. And so I think what will come out of that grant, it's required that there will be 2 postdocs that will take hold in the UC system, and one has to be in Chicanx studies and one has to be in Native American studies. So I feel like there's a lot of really wonderful movement in terms of our will to move in those directions that we could take people from.
So the last thing I'll say about the legacy, not just of the plan, but from where it emerges. I mean, I've done this speech in Denver, and then a month later I've done here. Is that the last thing I think we should attend to in terms of both its legacy but also its future is thinking about being more inclusive in terms of our community. You were here this morning, you heard how many women were typists and a few Chicana men, right? But how many women were typists, and how many women were typists, and how many women were typists, and how many women got coffee, and how many women got coffee. And part of that, I think, undoes the legacy and the future of Chicana studies, of where we are, of being inclusive and moving forward. And to that end, when we look at the next generation of Chicana scholars who are sitting with us here, one of our mentees and fantastic students, Carlos Gomez here, just got admitted to a PhD program. So the pipeline is continuing, but that's the future. This is the future of that legacy. The future of that legacy, quite honestly, is embodied in color. It is trans. It is gender non-binary. It is gender non-conforming. This is it. This is the future, and this is what we need to go. So if we think about the legacies, that's it right there, embodied. This is the future of Chicano studies. They will save us, this younger generation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me see if there's some open seats for people. There's one over here, one here, and over there as well. So if you guys want to sit down, over there and put it back. So thank you very much, Sam Janelle. And our next speaker on this panel is Professor Frank Barajas. And Professor Barajas teaches in the History Department in Chicano Studies at Cal State Channel Islands. He received his PhD from the Claremont Graduate University. He's published an excellent book entitled Curious Union, Mexican American Workers and Resistance in Oxnard, California, 1898 to 1961. And his next book is on the Chicano movement in Ventura County. So, Professor Barajas.
Thank you, Marshall. I took a class on relevancy. From the inception of the idea of Chicano Studies CA program at Cal State Channel Islands, the CA Chicano Studies programs at neighboring public universities, at UCSB, Cal State Northridge, served as translocal examples of the possible. In addition, Chicanx alumni have been movimiento from these 2 universities and others such as UCLA and Cal State LA took interest from the start in 2000, the year 2000, of the Channel Islands development at Ventura County's first public 4-year institution. They also served as the energy of advocacy and
support for the establishment of CI's Chicano Studies program, or at least baccalaureate program. As the discussion for Chicano Studies advanced, it was important to me that the degree, with a commitment to self-determination, be exactly that, rather than as a component of ethnic studies. Considering the history and proportion of ethnic Mexicans in Ventura County, it was imperative that this program be discrete to self-determine its relevancy to the community. And part of that history and also the existence of the ethnic Mexican population is going to have to do with the citrus strike in 1941, all Morpar, and also the writings of one alumni from this case, Tomás Amadera, who wrote in 1984 the sugar beet strike in 1903 in Maximum. And that's where I got the idea of, well, if it's a successful strike, what happens afterwards? It just disappears. So that's what sugar beet means. And they just from Tomás from Morpar and here. In fact, circa 2003, 2004, the university leadership sought to have in its place ideologically neutered multicultural studies degree. The Chicano studies being a module and minor and most likely not controlled by Chicano studies trained faculty. To convince me of the multicultural approach, an administrative functionary stated that Chicano studies would eventually germinate from a multicultural studies program, as the number of CHS minors grew within it. From my reading of that plan, I knew this path would ensure that Chicano studies as an independent degree program would never develop into the vibrant cultural and political campus repository that it is now. Takeaway, self-determination is the key. Furthermore, as detailed in that plan, Chicano studies at Channel Islands recognizes the transgenerational character of university, faculty, students, and staff. Hence, CI Chicano Studies has been the basis from which the Chicano Latino Faculty and Staff Association has emerged, CHIFALSA, and where additional faculty, administrators, and staff support each other and advocate for the inclusive and equitable employment of full-time colleagues. As a field of study, we are in the third generation of Chicano studies. So there needs to be this transgenerational referencing, this mentorship and advocacy, especially in the retention, tenure, and promotion of faculty. In fact, in preparation for this panel, I was struck again by the veteran insight that Aflan extends in relation to the Machiavellian intrigue characteristic of higher education. In short, experienced educators schooled students, many who were naively indoctrinated into the Americanist ethos, like me, and activists in how colleges and universities function. We at CSUCI also recognize that senior faculty as privileged tenured employees need to role model both tactical and, when necessary, disruptive resistance to the machinations of academia. Senior faculty must provide also wide berth for assistant and associate professors to take risks and pursue their professional visions in terms of teaching, scholarship, and service. Otherwise, Chicano Studies gambles with the production of lackeys and sycophants, concerned only in their own self-aggrandizement, usually into administration over the interests of students. By way of Mecha, the CI Dreamers, CHIFALSA, and other campus organizations, student, faculty, and staff, Chicano Studies, as poignantly detailed in Aflan, makes students conscious of the underlying politics and tribalism involved in university appointments, the tenure track faculty in particular. The new word. This is critical, as many, if not most, students do not understand the dissimilar power between tenure track faculty versus temporary instructors who dominate the teaching ranks in terms of program development and overall campus representation on behalf of the Chicanx community. Chicano Studies breaks down to students the political importance of increasing tenure-track faculty across disciplines. And only recently, again, in the spirit of self-determination, has Chicano Studies at CI focused more attention on the recruitment and development of homegrown Chicanx administrators. In this case, Chicanx administrators need to be held accountable, specifically by students, to the interests of the community, not the institutional powers that be, as Plan admonishes us and warns us about administrators. We have to support them, but also hold them accountable. Otherwise, we're actually working against this. So it's still that category of needs to legitimize itself. The establishment of curricular programs and the articulation of Chicano Studies with community colleges will increase the pipeline of Chicanx and Latinx students into the university. To follow this charge of El Plan, CI Chicano Studies spearheads Chicano Studies Summits in Ventura County Community College District and Ethnic Studies Now in the Oxnard Union High School District. Both initiatives with Title V HSI funds. In relation to Title V funds that range in the millions of dollars on campuses, the Channel Islands alone, the last time I counted, was some $18 million. That HSI money is coming, so keep an eye on that. Over 30% of these 20,000 students are designated Hispanics. And over 50% of the 7,000 students at Cal State Channel Islands are as such. These students are largely ethnic Mexicans, with an ever-increasing proportion of Central South American ethnic students. This being the case, how are these grant monies being spent? Is a more important question. This being the case, and how do Chicanx students, Latinx students benefit? Or are they just pimped to augment the waning budgets of universities and colleges? At CSUCI Chicano Studies, faculty, staff, and administrators develop and participate in programs subsidized by Title V HSI grants. This is done to create a more inclusive and equitable campus culture. Furthermore, Chicano Studies, in tandem with Chipausa, request university support for initiatives such as Noche de Familia, which brings in family members to the campus so they understand what their student family is going through. Also, CICEPURO, Chicano graduation recognition is actually Chicano commencement, but they don't want us to use that word yet, so we give it as a recognition. The Michelle Cerros learning community and a Raza Bienvenida welcoming event that brings together students, members of the community, faculty, staff, and administrators at the start of this new academic year. These are just a few examples of the relevance in the life of Juan Santa Bárbara at CSU Channel Islands. We have faculty, staff, and administrators who they themselves, in one way or another, are the progeny of Chicano Studies courses, degrees, and minors, as envisioned by the people of the
Thank you, Frank. Our next presenter is Professor Tomas Carrasco, who teaches ethnic studies and Chicano studies at Santa Barbara City College. I'm proud to say that Tomas was a graduate student of mine. He was the first recipient of a PhD in Chicano and Chicano studies in our department, and one of the first in the nation to achieve a PhD in Chicano studies. Wait, Tomas, I have a little bit more to say. Tomas is also the co-founder of the theatrical group Chicano Secret Service, which will perform tomorrow at 5 p.m. to close the conference. So, Tomas, the podium is yours.
How's everybody doing? All right, cool. Mario got me nervous with all those words. So my name is Tomas Carrasco. I'm born and raised in Oxnard, California. When I started to think about this panel, there's a direct connection of Oxnard and Islam So when I was a child, there was a lot of Chicanos and Chicanas, Jaime Casillas, the Delatories. When I was a child, and all these Chicanos and Chicanos were from Oxnard, and they were like, they were getting educated. It was such a big deal to us because I come from a trucking family, and I was from a family that had literally gone from the fields, and then my uncles and aunts got to have to get jobs in Point Magoo and Port Wainini. But the Delatories, the Casillas, the Garcias, these were like Chicanos that were at the university, and they were the first people that came back to my community, and they were like, we're farm workers and we're proud. And we're from Oxnard, okay? I'm proud to be from Oxnard. So the reason why I say that is because, you know, we'd have these cousins from Ventura, when they'd come to Oxnard, they would drive their messed up cars because they were coming to Oxnard, right? Be careful for Oxnard. And so we had to subvert that, you know, and we're, you know, it's a working class Chicano Mexicano community. And so I was thinking, you know, I always say, you know, I am the product of the Chicano Power movement. I am the product of the plan. I was born at the right time where you all opened up these doors for me. My society changed, and we were able to. I first went to Brazil and studied as I was like 18, and then from there I went to San Diego State and I studied with Isidro Ortiz and Griswold de Castillo, right? So San Diego State was a tough, right? Yeah, so I was a tutor for Rilon del Barrio. They'd be like, okay, 10 cops killed 5 Chicanos. How many Chicanos would, you know, so it was like, yeah, you know, and I was, don't tell me what to do, I'm from Oxnard, right? You know, also known as Chica. So I got a BA in Chicano Studies, Political Science. Then I went to San Francisco State and UC Berkeley, and I got a master's in ethnic studies, and then we started Chicano Secret Service. And so it's been an amazing life because of the plan and because of Chicano Studies. Currently, I'm the chair of American Ethnic Studies at Santa Barbara City College. I live it every day. You know, I was an active performer for like 20 years, and my grandpa always used to say, you know, artists are rich people, you need to get a job and help your dad, right? So then I came back to get my PhD at UCSB, and I was a crazy PhD student, right? I gave Mario and George Lipsitz a lot of free entertainment. I was not an innocent party, but I had fun. And so I got the job at Santa Barbara City College, and I want to be proud. Like, in my mind, we are the Harvard of community colleges, right? We have an AA in Chicano Studies, an AA in Black Studies, an AA in Ethnic Studies. And I just created a certificate in Chicano Studies. We work hard, you know, like we're doing some really, really good work, and a lot of it, the foundation is in plan in regards to organizing, recruitment, and curriculum. And most importantly, I wanted to touch on again, you're always looking forward, you know, the concept of technology. So, you know, just so we all know, there's a full online, you know, BA in Chicano Studies from the University of New Mexico. I teach Chicano Studies 101 online. I'm not all pro online, but we have to deal with online. We have to deal with technology. And there's a lot of single moms that take my class that don't have access. And so it's a double-edged sword, but at the same time, I think of the plan when I was creating my online class, you know, in regards to developing a historical consciousness. How do you do that through technology, right? You know, I'm using Alduana and Ruya Acuna simultaneously. And I also wanted to just talk to the response. You know, I think it's real easy to say that obviously it's never going to be 1969 again, but it's 2019 and it's on and cracking, right? And so there are students that are activists. You know, like you look at suicide right now, they're organizing, they're protesting. And so, and just going back to Santa Barbara City College, my classes are packed. Chicano Studies is making a comeback, you know? And so if you look at the dominant narrative, they're always trying to say, oh, it's outdated, this, and that, but it's not. And I would say 90% of my students are Mexicanos, right? And so I am who I am, and they look at me and they're like, how did you get how you got, right? And so I'm like, it starts in 1922 with my grandma from East LA. She was tough. I came from a trucking family, And you gotta do what you gotta do and be who you are, right? And so again, going back to that historical consciousness, right? To developing, we live in a new era, so I wanted to address that whole concept of these last 2 years. It's almost like it's just overwhelming when you have the president of the United States calling you rapist, et cetera, of having people attacking our students at McDonald's, at a cafe. How do you respond to that, right? You have to, in my natural reaction is you gotta defend yourself. And how do you defend yourself? You defend yourself with knowledge. Does that make sense? And then going back to like the activism, most of my students at Santa Barbara City College have 2 or 3 jobs, And so when I tell them, when I went to San Diego State, I never worked. They're like, what? I go, no, my dad helped me and had a lot of financial aid. And so again, they create these laws, in 1994, so I'm trying to make the connection to, I was well funded, so I had a lot of time to be an activist, right? With EOPS, with my Chicano Studies professors, etc. Today, our students are just surviving. Even to get there, they're just surviving, right? And so we have to deal with that. We have to organize and do it as best as possible. So my ammunition has always been culture, right? So I do comedy. I'm Chicano Secret Service, and so I always just push my students, whether it's filmmaking, theater, poetry, right, to come back to take that knowledge and to create what you can create, do whatever you want. And then also, I wanted to address at the same time, again, thinking about the plan, right? It's so much. We have so much on our plate, right? With all the success that I'm talking about, in regards to Santa Barbara City College, it's so well funded. Our department's doing really, really well. We're dealing, and I hope you all do this research, and you already know that, so we're dealing with AB 705, right? So the elimination of basic skills, making everybody do math in 1 year. That is a racist measure, And so how do you, like at my school, they've eliminated basic skills. That's the hard, conversation to have. What do you do with students that do not know how to read, that do not know how to write, and now you got to do all that in 1 year? Because some woman in Westlake wrote this bill in the disguise of happiness, right? The other one I want to talk about is guided pathways. So right now, the community college district is under attack. And this is a hard argument to make. Guided pathways, it's a shift from a knowledge-based institution to career. It's a shift from a knowledge-based institution to a career. They want degree, quit. And so right now, like I'm like the Lone Ranger at Santa Barbara City College, right? So my friends tell me, Tomas, people behind your back call you Pancho Villa. And I'm like, call me what you want, right? But again, going back to organizing, right? How do you organize at this in 2019? There's a lot. And then simultaneously, I was thinking about just like they had talked about it earlier, the demographic revolution. So I'm born and raised in Oxnard. My grandma, my dad came from East LA, so I've always loved LA, right? We had a trucking yard in LA, and so just within my research, I was just looking at this. 2 million people a decade have moved to LA. For the last 100 years, 500 people a day moved to LA, not just Mexicans, okay? So, we're dealing with a demographic revolution. It's like overwhelming, right? And so at the same time, I think that we really, again, I want to go back to this historical consciousness. That's what I really feel the plan laid the foundation for this historical consciousness, right? As a strategy and as a tactic. And so when I went to San Francisco State and Berkeley, it was the early 90s, there was 5,000 Chicanos that could see Berkeley. Shereen Moraga was our professor, Angela Davis was my professor, Harry Edwards was my professor. It was just this amazing time. And that was like, I always felt like at that time, it was Chicana feminist thought that had pushed up Chicano studies to the next level, right? And so then when I came to UCSB as a PhD student, it was just such a privilege, you know, to think of what my mother had gone through, what my grandmother had gone through, what my great-great-grandmother had gone through, and here I am studying, getting, doctor of philosophy and Chicano studies from Oxnard, right? And so when I graduated, I thought, you know what, I never have to see these people again, right? You know, so then I get a job at Santa Barbara City College, so then I'm all, peace, I'm taking it all back. No, I'm joking. No, so we're all friends now, right? So I'm bringing a lot of students. A lot of my students are coming to Santa Barbara and Cal State Channel Islands. And so like Angela Davis used to tell us, study like your life depends on it, right? And I love that. I tell my students, study like your life depends on it. And also, I tell myself, teach like your life depends on it, right? And so I really feel this from the bottom of my heart. Chicano studies is a matter of life and death. And the reason why I say that is because when my students come back to me, and they become teachers, they become lawyers, they become doctors, they have health care. You know, they are, you know, in a certain situation to help out their parents. And so I'm excited about Chicano studies. I think it's just starting, and you know, one of the things that we could look at is 1968, 1969. Again, you know, like when we think about it, 1968, 91% of all college students are white, right? And so again, we got numbers, but we got to learn from South Africa, right? Numbers do not equal power. And so again, we got to strategize, and I think we have our, we have our challenges between LA and San Antonio. 40 million Mexican Americans live in the Southwest. Call it what you will, right? Going back to Aztlan, I always took it as a strategy, as a tactic. I didn't take it literal, right? And so again, there's always a lot of controversy about that. But the main point about Aztlan, it subverts the dominant narrative and it connects us to the land. Chicanos, Mexicanos were ancient and were modern simultaneously. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas. So our next and last speaker in this panel, and we'll have plenty of time for discussion, is Professor Jose Alamillo. And Professor Alamillo teaches in Chicano Studies at Cal State Channel Islands. He has a distinction in having received his BA here at UCSB in Sociology and Communication, so let's give him a hand for that. He's an alum. He's a UCSB alum. He received his PhD in history at UC Irvine, and he's the author of an excellent book entitled Making Lemonade Out of Lemons, Mexican American Labor and Lemons in a California Town, 1900 to 1960. He's also published and is working on projects on Latinos in U.S. sports. So, Professor Alamillo.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. So I want to start with a personal story. I think Yogi Garcia story inspired me to maybe share a bit of my story of how I got here to UCSB. I was a little mocoso young boy in Santa Paula. My parents, picked lemons. My mom packed oranges. And one summer, 84, no, 84, I was recruited to be part of the summer academic enrichment program. And I always remember that experience coming to UCSB, and that experience of 2 weeks being at UCSB was transformative because I wasn't a great student in high school, but coming here and seeing the campus and seeing also they took us camping, and I got to meet Edward James Olmos. Susie was out, and so they autographed, signature. That was a big deal. But more than that, I got to really be motivated by the other students and all the people that I met in the surrounding areas. And I always remember my EOP counselor, Pete Villarreal, who's now retired in Santa Paula, as being sort of that person that really inspired me to come here. And then once I got here, I was like many of you, really lost. Back then in the 80s, late 80s, we used to be predominantly white. There was not a lot of Chicanos and Chicanas on campus, so it was really hard for me to find my way around. And so I always thank Sal, who's here in the front, to give me a job at the collection library. Because if it wasn't for that job, well, first I wouldn't be able to pay for, tuition, but also, I got to see the books. And I'm like, well, who wrote this? Who wrote that? And I'm like, who's Karen McWilliams? And so that like really opened my eyes about, taking more Chicano studies classes. And so by then, though, I already had 2 majors, so I couldn't add another one. But I remember the professors, really, Joseph Navarro and Casas. I got to take Rosalinda de Fregosa's class in the summer, and then Antonia Castañeda was a visiting professor at that time. And so I remember these professors inspired me to continue on studying, and I also got a chance to be part of La Escuelita and give tutoring at Franklin School, and I think that also reminded me the importance of El Plan, right, and how we also embody El Plan in terms of what we're doing in terms of community service. So when I ended up graduating here, I didn't know what to do still. I know I wanted to be at university, but I didn't know how to get there. So Manny Casas took me under his wing and gave me opportunities to graduate research. And then he encouraged me to go and just visit professors on the campuses. So I got a chance to go down south to Orange County in Irvine, and I got to meet Professor Gilbert Gonzalez, who then started telling me about, that he was actually part of writing Plan. He actually wrote the history section of Plan. If you look at that history, I actually took his classes, and it's modeled exactly like Plan. So taking Chicano history with him there, I was auditing because I wasn't a student yet. I was like, this is what I want to do. I'm like, and I didn't really, think of like, history until I really started taking and reading Plan, and he made sure that I knew Plan back and forth. And so he took me on his wing, and I got a PhD in history and comparative cultures, the program also that was there. And then from there, I went on and decided to learn and research my community. So I decided to look at a citrus community that grew up around lemons, right, like my family did. So that's where the book comes out. And so that, to me, is something that I still teach my students about. Start with your own family stories, and that's where you begin your research, right? And that's kind of what I did. I followed that path. The other thing that I think was really instrumental for me as a grad student in sort of embodying that plan was that my mentors there always reminded me about being involved with Mechistas and Mecha. And so as a graduate student, I was involved with the Mecha group at the University of Irvine, and I also became part of creating our own graduate student Mecha, although there weren't that many Latinos in graduate school in Irvine, so we created the Graduate Students of Color Collective. And so that continued, even to this day. Now that I'm at CSU Channel Islands, thanks to my colleague here, who recruited me to come to Channel Islands, one of the things that he would ask me, and we ask of every candidate that we're trying to hire is, so tell me about El Plan. And so El Plan really is part of the hiring process. When we hire faculty at our campus, you have to know it back and forth. And so we continue, right, that tradition of knowing really the principles of El Plan. Because again, it teaches about who we are, right, and our values. So little did I know that I was coming into a new program, right, Chicano Studies, that wasn't independent, it was under history. And so part of my job, right, is to make it independent. So it's been challenging for me now that I'm at Channel Islands, because even though we have 3 tenure-track faculty members, we still don't have full autonomy. And part of the plan teaches that we need to gain full autonomy. And yet we're still under the history department, where we're not independent. And this is despite 5 provosts that we've had. And every time that we demand autonomy, they give us the same excuse: not enough majors, not enough minors. And this has happened repeatedly, including when we look at the data, we find that the way to count majors is the first major only. They don't count the second major, which most of our majors are second majors. I mean, you know that because we don't operate like a traditional discipline, right? We're typically known as a found major, or as I call it, a found identity major, right? Because that's where you find your identity, right? That's where you find your calling. And they don't get that. Administrators do not get that we really need a full autonomy, right, to really flourish and grow as a department. And so I think that another thing that we work together really hard on is challenging our colleagues that are at the university to give us we demand more disciplinary deference. And by this I mean that, everybody, including our colleagues, thinks that, oh, anybody can teach Chicano and Chicano studies, right? That somehow we need to draw boundaries, we need to, teach others that no, we should be respected as an independent discipline and treated as such. And so we launched a lot of initiatives that Frank mentioned. And so, but yet still we don't get the full respect. And an example of that is, I always get colleagues telling me, oh, we have a great Latino, Latina who can teach a Chicano studies class. And I'm like, really? Have you looked at their CV or resume? And they have no experience, right? And again, this is part of the disciplinary deference that we demand. And especially because we're the only ethnic studies program on our campus. So another recent example is that my great colleague, Jenny Luna, was able to secure an incredible donation of the Michelle Serral's archive. And, this is huge. We had an opening and everything, but still, again, the advancement office still didn't understand the significance of this donation. So much that they actually rolled back their promise of, getting a reading room named after Michelle Serral's. And so once students found out, students are like, okay, what do we need to do? And so we're in the process of trying to figure that out. Okay, we need to demand that we have those spaces, like Michelle Serral's room, for our students, especially since we're close to 60%, right? And Michelle Serral's, if you know her work, she's our local, intellectual poet, writer of our community of Oxnard. And so this is what she means. Her legacy means a lot to our community. So we're working hard to eventually, and I think we will get that reading room regardless, because, we're strategizing. We're trying to figure out, right, how can we use this donation to really make ourselves not only independent, but also have our separate space and our reading room named after Michelle Serral's. Another thing that I want to sort of speak to in terms of the plan was the University of Chicago, the connection with the community, right? How we as Chicano and Chicana academics, how we embody a plan with the way that we serve our community, right? A lot of academics think that this notion of community service learning or high impact practices is new, but in fact, the plan already spelled it out. We were doing community service learning, right, way back in the day, and we still continue to do that, even though it's now fashionable, right, to claim community service learning, which essentially the way they treat community service learning, right, is sort of a service activity or volunteerism. But if you read a plan, it's not about volunteerism, right? It's not about serving your community in a very missionary kind of way, but it's about making and enacting structural change activity. I mean, those are key words that need to be underlined in that plan, which really means to really seek full liberation, right, from the conditions that oppress our community. And so one of the things that we start doing, just to give you examples of ways that we're bridging on the University with the community, is we worked on a project way back on the Bracero Oral History Project where we partnered with the Smithsonian to do an exhibit. However, the exhibit was really too broad and it didn't speak to how we were serving our local ex-Bracero community. And so our students mobilized, they worked with the organizations to seek the Bracero justice movement, which is part of trying to get back the money that was stolen, right, from their savings. As Braceros, many of their savings was stolen. So they were helping Braceros, get claims to that money. Another thing they did, with, beyond just putting an exhibit and collecting stories, we started the Bracero Student Scholarship, which will help the descendants of Braceros to go on to college and university. That are examples of the plan, right, in action. So one great story that I like to tell is one of our students who interviewed next to Bracero, came out of that interview like blown away because he was telling the story of how the ex-Bracero knew his grandmother in that same town. And, this student didn't get a chance to meet grandmother, right? She passed. But he tells that story of how it transformed his understanding of his family story and the history of Braceros. So much that he was motivated and moved to then become a teacher because he believes passionately that Bracero program is that story needs to be taught at the high school level. And so he's now a teacher in Santa Paula. And and again, this is why we need to do these connections, these sort of public programs with our community to be able to inspire our students within our Transform, I believe, by those projects and then go on to do great things. We still have our challenges, right? We still have a lot of the CSU that we're trying to fight, and that includes the executive orders that are coming down, the Graduate Initiative 2025. And for Chicano and Chicano Studies, that's a huge threat if you think about it, because they're trying to now push us, right, to graduate students within 4 years. Many of our students take 5 years. I was a 5th-year student. I mean, I tell my story. I'm like, I couldn't have been done in 4 years. I needed that extra years. And so, especially they find Chicano and Chicano Studies, right, much later. And so that means essentially is that, these students are pushed to leave faster, but they don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they want to do. And so it's a challenge for us to, push back, and really, make sure that we continue to support our students, however long they take. I really believe that some just need to take 5, 6 years. I mean, I could have taken 6 years, staying in Santa Barbara. But my parents were like, no, that's it. You gotta go get a job. Well, I think that there's a lot of other, was mentioned earlier, the importance of making connections with community colleges. I think that CSUs and community colleges need to work better together, especially in supporting Chicano Studies. And I think that's one of the things that needs to be a priority, because we need to support each other, because if we don't grow, the community college will grow, and vice versa. In order to help support community colleges, we need to help them, create that pathway, or whatever way we can, to transfer them into our universities, because they need to be there, right? They need to graduate, and especially with the Chicano Studies degree. So I think that there's a lot of work ahead in continuing, talking about other challenges. I really like the idea of the alumni group, because, especially when we're seeking out donations and donors, we need to create our own alumni groups, right? Because those Latinx alumni groups are key, right, to putting pressure on the university. And so that's something that I've been really working on in Ventura County, is to cultivate that alumni group to help us push to become independent, but also to grow, right, and hire more faculty. So, yeah, that's all I have to share. Thank you.
Let's give another hand to this very, very great panel. We have plenty of time, about 30 minutes of questions and discussions, and since we do have more time actually following this panel for discussion, I want to encourage people not only to ask questions of the panel, but this is a good time to kind of reflect, have a time to maybe to share some of your reflections from the morning session, from this session, and also bring in your own experiences in whatever capacity you represent. Just share your stories with us as well. So, so we'll open it up now to questions or reflections or discussion, however you want to present to the audience. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Hi, I'm Virginia Rivera from UC Stanford. I'm bringing my niece here in 6 weeks to check out this county. She's never been here, but this is where she is the daughter of my sister out Mexican and my brother-in-law's wife. He was an only child. They have no cousins on that side. They have 300 cousins on our side of the county. So my question is about cultural identity. I'm very, very much Chicana, but I don't know if they're going to be, because they have multiple identities. So, how do you respond or address?
So one of the coolest things about Chicano Studies 101 is that it's a lot about identity, right? And one of the things that we teach in Chicano Studies is that you choose your own identity. Nobody ever tells you what you are. So literally, we contextualize it. I mean, I use Mario's generational map. And the beauty of what we're talking about here, it's a live culture, right? It's fluid, it's happening right now. And so there's no one two buckle shoe answer to your question. So they're going to have to read, they're going to have to live, and they're going to have to choose their own identity according to what they are.
Yeah, I would also say I think it's really important that we introduce like language to our kids, right? These are our kids right here, and I mean they're Western Band Cherokee, they're Purepecha, they're Chicanx, and they need to know all of those words, right? And so that when it comes time for them to actually self-determine their own identity, they have kind of an arsenal of language. They have been told certain very particular things about their histories, their traditions, and then they're going to take it on however they're going to take it on.
So real quick, sorry. So that's the beauty of Chicano studies, that we are analyzing ourselves. And if you're not Chicano, then you get to learn about who you're around.
Frank,
yeah.
It's an interesting question. I had discussion with my son, who's a senior going to college in America. So he's working on it. He said, "Well, you take Chicano studies class in college." He says, "No, I'm not going to take Chicano studies class. It isn't interesting." I said, "Wow." I said, "Don't you have any kind of curiosity about your family and your background?" But yeah, I know that's what you teach, and that's fine, but I'm into engineering, and that really doesn't have a stand on engineering. Then I was talking with a colleague at college, and I said, "What do you think he's called 30 minutes?" The decision is going to be made for him to a certain extent. When he goes out into the world, it's the white supremacy, and he's not living. So maybe he'll rethink our conversation in February of 2000.
I have an easy solution. They have to pay their own tuition, and if they don't take Chicano studies. That's how I get mine to take.
We've got a question here.
Hello, my name is Bárbara, I'm a student at Top Holy Slope, and I did hear the phrase in our keynote about how the Chicano Kingdom was died out or is on its decline, and I think that's not necessarily true. As someone that's been a part of Connection and other groups, I do see that it's transforming. I'm wondering what we can do better as students and college students with solidarity with our indigenous relatives and with the Latinx community.
Just as a strategy, I would like, our issues overlap, and I like to amplify those, right? And again, we live in dangerous times, right? And so we all know that divide and conquer, strategies. But again, just communications and be involved in each other's communities. We have, whether it's healthcare, whether it's just good food, just to be cognizant. Like in Oxnard, right? We have 30,000 Oaxacanos. So a lot of the activism that my sisters do are in that community, right? We're not going to pretend we're like, indigenous. We're Chicanos. It's implied, right? And so again, just be very, very respectful. But again, it's a strategy is to overlap our what we're experiencing together, and again, organizing to organize.
Anybody else?
I'll just say, I think in terms of especially the generation of college students who are in university right now, I mean, I don't know that we necessarily have to have just a specific renewed like Chicanx movement, because all of you are in movements, right? I think we have figured out that these movements have to be multiracial, they have to be gender varied, and we're seeing that, right? We've got a lot of our students who are members of Black Lives Matter chapters, or who went to Standing Rock, or they're doing, I think, really significant work on the ground that is informed by their ethnic studies degrees, or their Chicana studies degrees. And so I think as their work may not be labeled as we, saw historically, and I think that's fine.
Maybe a question, comment, or reflection. Faculty last.
Interesting to say that because I'm a teacher of back and started in 1974 at Santa Monica College. And during that time, for many of us who were getting involved, this was the first opportunity any of us ever had in getting involved in the movement. Well, for us, it was really important because our back in the 60s, they fought for affirmative action. And that's really the doors that opened for not my generation to go on to universities and to go on to professional schools after that. And when the first attack came from Boston at UC Davis, many of us organized. As Mechistas from the LA area, we organized, and we had our Mechas Central, which Mechas Central incorporated all the college community UC private states from all over the LA county area. And there was probably maybe about 15 of us that were there at the university. But beyond that, we organized statewide. And I was transferred to UC San Diego. So we had our Mechas Central from San Diego, our Mechas Central from LA, from up north, from Berkeley, San Francisco, the Central Valley. And at one point, I remember going up to UC Berkeley, and there was 150 colleges we represented. And we were there ready to kick ass, kick the administration. And we were angry, of course. I mean, those are the kind of issues that you evolve. So here we are, like 50 years later, and we're all estamos en las mismas, and that's it. But it's not the end all. And how do you? My question to you, for all of you students, is like, how do you divide with the concept in terms of what we do in NETRA, with the issues that were burning at the time, to evolve into the traditions we are now? So you're not just only organizing here in Santa Barbara, but you're also making the communications with these are the UCs, Berkeley, San Diego, Irvine, now where the in the Central Valley. You've got the means to do it. With social media, it's better for us. All we had at the phone. We didn't even have cell phones. So the computer was the size of the wall at that time. So you've got the technology behind it. You just have to kind of open it up and don't let anybody tell it. And I've heard with Martha Foley, you're walking around and you're isolating. We isolate ourselves, to be honest with you. And for me, having grown up in Santa Monica, where it's not, there are not many Latinos, it's less than maybe 15% of us in the city, you could not isolate yourself. But you feed yourself and say, I'm a person, I can do it. And so that's when we have to be stronger, supportive of each other, and not really step on each other, because there's other times when some of us, as we move forward, we step on each other, man, and we don't ever really support it. So I'm at this stage where all of you have to kind of be supportive of each other. Nowadays, in the Pacifica, my husband was the one that's on the board of equalization. I'm on the school board for Santa Monica now. And part of it, we do have ethics study here. And one of the key things that I'm saying is still going to do, but part of our issue as a story, for those who can make it San Diego, is that how do we integrate the real stories of history in our regular U.S. history courses and world history in our regular curriculum in the state of California? Because, you're always going to hear the BS of what they write in those books. But you really need to integrate what is a real story and tell our stories. We have a lot of great stories in our neighborhoods, especially for me in Santa Monica, people neighborhood. And that's a classic story that I'm beginning to open up the doors with. But it happens really, and we're hopefully going to be able to bring in, after I got inspired, Dr. Armando, Dr. Jamos, and I'm going to comment, and let's see how we can open up the doors to be able to provide the elementary. Because it's real clean. It's just my last thing, because I'm also a grandparent, and for the future. My kids grew up middle class. Why? Because mom and dad were college graduates and professionals, and it's hard to instill them what we went through, because as immigrants, both my husband and I are immigrants, it's hard to instill them in what it would be a struggle to get to where we are today. I did try to do that, but it's hard for them when they're not struggling like we did to get to where we are today, and they can kind of use your right and be like, well, it's a straightforward school. But one of the key things that you have, and you really learn by the example, I think, of all of us, we can still to do our struggle. And I come home cussing out everybody that I had to deal with that day too, and the politics department that I had to deal with in Santa Monica. And they hear that, and I want them to hear that. And so they have to see how relevant it is today that things have not changed, but it's at a different level. It's at a different level. And so I think for all of you, you're gonna find that it's real. And just the last thing, when I heard on the radio, because I know I like to talk. Black History Month, it was interesting when they said that when you put your little ones to bed, don't tell them fake fairy tales. Tell them your story of the struggle, of our history, of our people. And that's really big. That's true. Why do we have to tell about the good experience and all that? Yes. Let's tell them about the all our access to the Scottish movement and that's the best.
So Mario, real quick. So I think one of the beauties of Chicano studies that we teach in Chicano studies and in ethnic studies is a structural analysis versus an individualistic analysis. And it's very, very dangerous to be utilizing individualistic analysis and just generalizing on an entire, 50 years in regards to, and I just want to state this, there has been a lot of success. Yes, we are under attack, and if you look at Chicano Studies at Northridge, Cal State Channel Island, Santa Barbara City College, San Diego State, there's a lot of success. And is there a lot of work? Definitely there's a lot of work. And also I wanted to mention, in the community colleges, as much as we're celebrating Chicano Studies, coming from the top down, so this little chancellor for California, they've created this concept called social justice degree. And it's like it's a tactic to get rid of Chicano Studies, according to me. And it's something that we have to really deal with, in regards to those guided pathways. Chicano Studies is much more than social justice. It's reductionist. And again, we really, really need to have that balance between a structural analysis and an individualistic analysis. Your mic's not. It's not working.
Yeah, yeah.
Just so that you want to make a comment or a question or what?
Okay, so several things I think all in one. My name is Giselle. I use she, her, hers pronouns. I'm actually an alumni from
UCSD. I graduated last year in Bárbara major. I think I wanted to kind of touch base on the support that Connect that connects POC students and groups and organizations on campus. I know that we say like let's organize, let's do this. However, sometimes we don't have the support from the institution or even the departments that we would want. For example, I was part of ever since I came to UCSB, I was part of the group right and unfortunately, we often don't get enough funds to get the audio that we need for our group. Since I've been in the group, our group went from being 25 students to being almost 60 students. However, we only have about 10 vestuarios per state of Mexico per region. And just to kind of touch base on it, obviously, like the Chicanos, the department here says that they have support for everyone. However, we ourselves have asked for support from the Chicano Studies department, and they have either offered us very little support or they have told us we'll offer to buy you this audio, but it's gonna stay in the Chicano department. Like we're gonna own it. And it's like, well, this is for our community, this is for our students to explore this culture, to learn a little bit more about it, because as we said, it's important to retain our culture, our heritage. And it's kind of hard to continue doing this when we don't have the funds. We are not even allowed to practice in a space. We currently practice in Lot 22, have been practicing in Lot 22. We can't use Robertson's gym because they claim that we were the ones who damaged their floor, and we can only use their floor if we have someone supervising us, and then we have to pay for the supervision to make sure that we don't use shoes in that space. And it's like, we're already struggling for funds, and then they expect us to pay another student to babysit us. And so, even now, we don't even use Robertson's gym because we just don't have the funds for that. So I think it's definitely hard as a student myself, as you were saying. Perhaps when we were all organizing for a plan, you didn't have to work, so you had time to organize. But me being an undocumented student, I had to have 2 jobs, and then trying to run this organization, and then trying to be an officer, and trying to look for funds, and then trying to be a student and get grades because they want to get degrees to get to places. And it's just, I think it's definitely hard. A lot of us here as students, POC definitely know that there's a lot of things that we struggle with. So I think I wanted to ask all of you, like, what can we do for us, or what can we do to, like, just reach out to each other all across to be able to get the support that we need so that we can continue to like, and get this movement going just all across, because I'm sure we're not the only organization struggling with that.
Well, my name is Tomas Arla Carrasco, and I'm the chair of American Ethnic Studies. And let's get together, because Santa Barbara City College has a lot of money. And so I'm serious, So I'll get together with you and let's figure this out, definitely.
Thank you, yeah, Professor, and with these different patients, I'm going to I have 2 meditations, and I think the questions as well, in offering sincerely as opportunity to meditate collectively on these issues. One, I asked this question earlier in the morning, is what was the status, what was the dialogues about the relationship between Chicano Female Studies at this particular time, Latin San Barbara, and some of the things going on internationally. What was that legacy? What Scott has a really good study, Children of the Sun, that talks about the bifurcation of nationalists and internationalists. I don't know if it was that sharp, but I was wondering if you can meditate and think to us about the dialogue that you
go ahead. And the second one really responds to the second meditation comes from a lot of the comments that we're hearing about the successes that have come from your sacrifice in this generation. The successes involve our class mobility in a lot of different levels. We're here in the middle class, we're in the process of becoming part of a professional middle class. And that raises a lot of complications. Getting certain oppositional for the motive so what new challenges does that pose to the field? What type of outlook or metacritical discussion do we need to have to respond to these complications? Because one of these we see not just our mobility into faculty and activists and such, but also into the ranks of journalists, paramilitary infrastructure at CIA, immigration, so many massive immigration officers, and we're talking about not just the enlisted level, but senior command officers, that it raises a lot of ideological issues about what we, or what is coming from some of the great work that we've done. Part of the issue, I think, as I said, I don't know attention to the trees, we'll have to go through and do the to share. There's a longer conversation now. Anyone the panel wants to. Of course, if you read the plan, does speak about making coalitions with other entities. The plan does speak about addressing the issues of the third world and so forth. So it's not a what we call completely national stuff. Because if you look at the so-called cultural national international influences as well. Many of you guys were actually part of that generation, but maybe in terms of what you're relating beyond the Chicano issues in terms of other
I think some of us as Chicano scholars, we know part of the history of the somewhat abstractly. And some I know personally, like Rosalio Munoz, for example. Rosalio Munoz and his history, his relationship with the left, made trips to Cuba in the 60s and 70s, made trips to Russia even as part of the contingent that thought about the kind of international workers sort of solidarity and framework. But then also, other folks, I think, Chicanismo is, we say, always already transnational, and it has responded early on to this kind of purity politic on both ends, both in the people in the United States, right? And that framework, where for many Chicanos, you go back to Mexico and you're a pocho, and you're not Mexican enough for the Mexicans, you're not American enough for the Americans, so this is the condition. So I think it's always been this sort of internationalist perspective. I think Antandua gives us the best framework for thinking about this in the third space. So
let's get a comment over here as just so we get as many voices as possible.
Good afternoon. I just want to first mention, I didn't get to say this to Armando, I don't know if he's around, but just very honored that René Nunez was mentioned here. René Nunez was actually someone I met in high school who first got me to, inspired me to get to college, and now I'm a faculty member at San Diego State in Chicano Studies, so I want to make sure we acknowledge him as well, who's no longer with us. But if René were here, I got to spend a lot of time with him over the years. In 1999, we had the 30th anniversary conference for the Third World Liberation Front at Berkeley, where I go undergrad. And it was both a commemoration conference, but also a strategy session for organizing whatnot, right? Because out of the conversations that came up, like I was hearing earlier, the women up here mentioned, everybody coalesced around Baku. That's one example. But one thing that has come up that I really want to foreground is about the differences in not having free tuition. By the time my generation came around, we had some tuition, but nowhere near the cost today. But at the same time, right, for me, it's raised the question, like, how are we allowing these tuition increases at the community of the art. This is pedagogy. And it is cohesion itself that is one of the areas in which we could coalesce as faculty, as students, as community, recognize valid concerns in our community that one, tuitions are criminal, and second, the budget cuts, right? Which will become over here. It's no coincidence that the cuts to public education come at a moment post affirmative action when the universities get started. Right? So these are two related points that give us a basis for thinking not just commemoration, but strategy session moving forward, ways in which we can do this work of reigniting a movement, right? Even if not identified as Chicano movement, I would say with Aztlan, it's an unmappable geography, right? And unfortunately, some insist on Southwest, but it's just an unmappable geography about return to the basics, return to self, right? And return to community. So maybe going forward, the questions raised by Bernardino to say last thing, I teach at San Diego State, we're flooded with State Department. I teach classes about the U.S. Mexican border. I get a lot of current and inspiring leaders in my class. They see border studies, they think I'm teaching the migra. Go figure. But at the same time, I used to have this mindset of trying to change it, and occasionally I would. But then I also learned from good colleagues of mine that do migrant rights work that they actively rely on 6 migrants as whistleblowers. So now I've changed my strategies to get them to either not become migrants, or if they do, right, in essence, start creating a generation of whistleblowers, or potential whistleblowers. Right? So there's a lot of possibilities, but this is where we need to then talk strategy moving forward.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. We're going to take a 15-minute break, and then we'll have the next panel. And before we congratulate this panel, I'm still puzzled by Luciano Neal never took a course with me. Anyway, thank you very much for this panel. Take a break and we'll reassemble the 3
How you doing, Tomas Carrasco?
I'm with Teatro Campesino.
No way.
I met you a long time ago.
Okay, right on. What's your name?
Richard Vasquez.
Richard Vasquez, so nice to see you.
Yeah, we just had a board meeting the other day, and Luis is opening a new play in San Jose.
Okay, right on.
April 6th.
Okay.
Adios, Mama Carlota.
Okay, so I'm supposed to just
Oh, yeah, get out directly.
Yeah, okay, directed the play. Right on. So, thank you so much for seeing me. Yeah. We perform tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be here.
So, all right.
And you're doing next month at City College.
Yeah.
The 15th and 16th.
Yeah.
Teatro? How do you mean that? Oh, okay, good. Okay, that's good. Well, I asked that because sometimes people think we're going to do it for free. Yeah, no. But that's what people think. Yeah, so.
Working for free in the
No. Yes.
We're so sorry.
It really was.
No, we're right here, babe. Can you tell them? I just started with Don't play with that. Mama told you don't. Oh, man. These are mine.
Thank you, guys.
Probably close to the edge. Jose, I'm Hector.
Nice to meet you. Now, where are you at right now? How are you? San Luis Obispo. You mind giving me your email?
You got a card?
Yeah.
That's even better.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I left all my cards at home.
That's all right. What are you doing?
I'm retired now, but I graduated from here in '77. I'm the guy that benefited.
That was the year I was born, so I benefited también.
My daughter was born in '76.
Chicano love, man. That's
Yeah,
what happens.
and people like Yolanda, people like the panel this morning with Bill Villa, those are the guys that encourage us to go do it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we're talking here at the university and the education of bullseye, and we're the center of that bullseye. You guys are. You guys are the ones that are putting out.
Oh, you know, up there, man, I studied with Carlos Munoz Jr., and I went to Lincoln High School. Did you give me a reading? Yeah, I gave you a thought. Oh, shit. Sorry, I was just reading. Yeah, I went to Lincoln High School, man. I grew up in San Diego.
Where did Lincoln High School live?
In East LA.
East LA, they got one in San Diego also?
Yeah, that was the one that South Castro was. So, you know, I was there, you know, and I was raised in the housing projects, man, in East LA. And so, you know, when you're in the piece of property like that, man, the movement and all these guys, they move around you. But growing up, I wasn't concerned with all that. You know, I didn't have time. I was concerned with what was driving down the street, you know. And so it wasn't until I went away, you know, my parents had went to Berkeley, 500 miles away to learn about my neighborhood, you know, and then come back. You know, but it was at Berkeley then that I came to consciousness. It's so great. So, right after, good to meet you, yeah. Órale.
Excuse me. Just never had to right for you. Did your shoes just light up? Did they just light up? I thought I saw that. That's pretty good.
I'm just checking the camera angle.
Oh yeah, no, that is good.
That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. All right. I think someone bumped you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. We're good. It's still going. Yeah, it's still going.
Yeah. Oh,
it wasn't working. I don't know why. I think it's bad battery or something.
Oh yeah. But the good thing, you know, it still went off. It still went off. Yeah. Nothing is always perfect. At the end of the day, it worked out. Look, wow. You can tell on this one.
You know what? Hold on a second.
Oh man, we gotta organize. Yeah. Horrible. Yeah, he's very sophisticated.
Oh yeah.
Okay, you got to behave yourself.
And
It's working out.
but it's funny because the money he was not trained, but still now.
It's still okay about the money. I can hear him out there. It's crystal clear.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, a lot of the see her creative.
If I don't, I can definitely get from the page. Oh yeah, we know my own. Yeah, yeah. But I can, yeah, contact us. We're definitely happy. Continue
Nice seeing you.
You guys can just shoot the microphone. I think when you put them in the
Yeah, you gotta be careful with that. You know, so it can be dangerous. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I really liked your speech.
So thank you so much for tuning in. Angela, you get me CSP? All right. Okay, how's it going? All right, have you taken George Lipsitz?
No.
Take George Lipsitz, take Avery Gordon, and keep on. Awesome. Yeah. George Lipsitz. I do research on theater and performance. Yeah. I do media, so I memorize like a music development agenda. Yeah, so. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you want a dialogue just about, like, I always tell students, like, what's your dream job? What's your end product, right? Because nobody ever told me that means I got to be at the studies. I couldn't get a job with that, you know, so then I got a master in ethnic studies, you know, then, so then I ended up as a professor, so. So yeah, let's have a party. All right, thank you.
If we can get everyone seated again, we want to start right on time. If you can all take your seats, and if the next panel can come up here to behind the table.
So the energy level will. All right, yeah, from the heart, right? Yeah. Definitely. So thank you. All right, how you? Look good. Right. You can move it, right?
Ready? Are you ready? I'm the only one with a paper copy too. I'm the only one with a paper copy.
Everyone, please take your seats so we can start. We've got limited time for this panel. And so please take your seats, and if I can have the panelists up here on the table, please. See, Tomas Carrasco's holding court, but Tomas, you're holding this up. And this panel, the student panel will go for an hour to quarter to 5. And then the reception, which is for participants, the faculty, and administrators, will be over at the Mosher Alumni Center. And those of you who don't know the way, some of us can escort you over. So this is our student panel, composed of some of our graduate students and some of our undergraduates. And we're going to go by the lineup that's in the program. And as I'll introduce each of them individually. And then I want them to say just a little bit about their own backgrounds, and then your comments about the relevance of Plan de Santa Bárbara for you guys and your generation, how you view it as you read it and studied in this panel. So we're going to first start with one of our graduate students, Araceli Garcia Gonzalez. So Araceli, can you start off and just say a little bit about your own background and then your reflections.
Hello, my name is Araceli Garcia Gonzalez. I'm a fourth year PhD student in International Studies Department. My research emphasis is sexuality, gender, and sex work studies. I am really excited to be speaking today. I'm from the Central Valley, so Merced, born and raised, moved to Atwater. I live in Atwater. I was born in Merced. I'm 209 baby. So today I'd really like to discuss the recruitment of Latinx and Chicana students into the university. But first, I'd like to start with the short story of my own journey in K-12, especially in a place like the Central Valley. When I was a little girl, my mother used to take my siblings and I to the Merced County Public Library on summer afternoons when she worked the lunch shifts as a mesera at su casa restaurant. On the corner of 16th and R, next to the Dirty 30 State Mart that closed down due to low sales. Although, I think the real reason had more to do with the desert the county had been creating, drying out western Merced before our very eyes. I remember the building as a mythical labyrinth. Finding my way through adolescence, the building had a narrow entryway with black parallel gates leading up to its doors. Leading to its entry, a trail of eucalyptus trees, flowing sweet scents of liberation at my 11-year-old body as I entered a new world. To this day, the smell of eucalyptus still ignites a revolutionary flame within me. In the 8th grade, I was placed in a remedial English course, which, to be honest, I didn't mind very much, because for one, it was basically a free period, and two, I had a class with my long-term schoolwork crush, Carlos, and that was the only place we hang out, so I really appreciated it. My electives consisted of a typing course, a yearbook editing course, and a janitor's assistant, which means I spent an entire hour of my school day helping Tony, our janitor, with his duties. And at night, I'd stay up until 2 a.m. reading books with a flashlight so my mother wouldn't see my light on and force me to sleep before I reached my page goal for the day. I was not on the college prep track despite my love for reading and critical thinking. Come high school, I began to notice a separation more distinctly. While some of my classmates were pushed into taking advanced placement courses that would ultimately set them up to fulfill APG requirements, I was unknowingly doing the bare minimum to satisfy California's graduation requirements. I clawed my way into AP courses and eventually attended Cal State Monterey Bay out of high school. And I want to tell you this story, not to tell you that I was worthy somehow, not to say that I succeeded because I worked really hard and had extra grit or whatever that is. Not because I believe that hearing my story will make other students succeed like I did. I share this with you to emphasize the dire situation in K-12 education. And to hear, at the 50th year celebration of Plan Santa Bárbara, to recenter our conversations around recruitment in the K-12 system. According to the Department of Education's statewide report for 2017-2018, the four-year adjusted cohort graduation rates, 263,581 Latino students were in this cohort. This does not include mixed-race students. Of those, 212,551 students graduated with a regular high school diploma, which is 80.6%, which is impressive. However, of those 212,551 students, 90,425 graduated meeting UCCSU requirements, which means 42.5% of Latino graduates were eligible to apply to the UCCSU systematic high school upon graduation. And I'd like to emphasize here that I hope this talk doesn't infer that I believe community college is not worth attending. In fact, I think community college offers a deeper and more nuanced relationship to coursework than a UC or even a CSU could. But what I do want to emphasize is the mistrust to educational institutions that are developed in K-12. Why are some students being urged to complete the bare minimum while others are being encouraged to reach the stars? And it makes me wonder how many other students within classes as generate assistants like me. The historical legacies of the chaplain systems are embedded in our educational system. And we within the walls of the university understand this, and it is our responsibility as Chicana, Chicanic students and scholars to intervene and create resolutions. Plan states, quote, institutions of higher education must accept fundamental responsibility for recruiting Chicanos who will enroll as students or work as faculty, staff, or employees. Given the traditional and systemic indifference, even hostility, of higher education to Chicanos, institutions must never assume that Chicanos can first seek them out. End quote. So I'm here today to propose a recentering of our Chicano studies objectives and goals at the university. I believe that our work is far from finished, and while I'm overjoyed by the celebration of this amazing document and the fact that we can even have these conversations because of the historical conference that took place 50 years ago, I am asking that we continue our fight for equal opportunities in the classroom, K-12 specifically. My recommendations are to institutionalize the connection between Chicano studies curriculums and recruitment processes in grade school, elementary school, and high school. While a large emphasis should be placed on high school recruitment, we at the university should not underestimate the tracking and discouragement taking place in grade school and middle school, causing strong disillusionment for Latinx students in classrooms early on. Meaning, I propose a service-oriented component as a major requirement for Chicanic studies. This was a major requirement at Cal State Monterey Bay, and it was not a Chicano studies department, but it was institutionalized, so in order to have a major, you had to do 20 hours as a lower division and 40 hours as upper division. And that was just standard for the university. The department made sure that we had connections to the community, so it was no burden on the student. It was very easy. We were working directly with communities. Continue. And I believe that this should be necessary for all Chicanic studies departments across all universities offering a major. I believe we need to institutionalize it on a national level. I propose that our students and grad students be given credit for their degrees for building curriculum with schools in the counties where their universities are located, and prioritizing nourishing relationships and curriculum that is fundamental to Chicanic studies to students in elementary school, middle school, and high school. From a Chicanic studies perspective, and in honor of the 50th year anniversary of Plan Santa Bárbara, I want to continue our conversation about the importance of resources available at the university, but I hope to make it clear that resources at the university alone will never suffice. And in honor of the revolutionary breeze from the leaves of eucalyptus trees in front of the Merced County Public Library, and in honor of the historical legacies of the Chicano movement and fight for education, I am calling on the political significance of our degrees and our programs to seek out our future students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Our next presenter is another of our graduate students in the Department of Chicano and Chicano Studies, Alejandro Prado. So Alejandro, say just a little bit about your own background and then your own reflections.
Good evening. My name is Alejandro Prado. I'm working here also in the Department of Chicano Studies. From San Diego Valley, starting from a little bit of my talk. And the angle that I'm taking this is the relevancy of the plan for my future work as an academic and also as a faculty and administrator within the discipline. So hopefully that's pretty clear and simple. Built as it is on identity politics, El Plan de Santa Bárbara demanded the institutionalization of an autonomous space in its fight for Chicano community self-determination. My argument today is drawn from my dissertation to university work as I engage two main premises, basic to El Plan, and then describe what influences my current and future work. El Plan holds first an analytical and second a political weight in my work. Number one is the binary divide between Chicano society and what is termed as Gabacho society, and number two is the role of the university as agents of community change. We must study El Plan as part of a crucial historical memory and utilize it in our conceptualization of modern issues. But this document must not be positioned as an idealized goal that activism and scholarship must replicate today, as the political, economic, and social world continues to restructure due to its internal contradictions. In 2019, we find ourselves in the midst of neoliberal global capitalism, situated within a global rise of fascism and xenophobia at a political level, and a multicultural turn at the social and economic level. The inclusion of cultural differences then obfuscates continued exploitation and oppression along racial lines. The current phase of global capitalism differs markedly from the political and economic context of the mid-20th century. An analytical and political shift is necessary as the current phase of global capitalism has imposed global economies and urban centers around the world, leading to the growth of a transnational capitalist class. Comparatively, in the 20th century, social and economic resources were distributed enough from which Chicanos drew to address existing patterns of racial economic injustices. Professor Jorge Mariscal, in San Diego, described this as, quote, the window of opportunity, end quote, that positioned post-war Chicano activism within Indian economics, housing shift, post-war politics, civil rights, the colonial movements, and Southeast Asian wars. This context impacted Chicana and Chicano activism. Consider, for instance, the work of Chicano nationalism and its coalition building around the anti-war Chicano moratorium. The different material realities impact how we read El Plan today, and consequently reconceptualize a key premise of El Plan. I quote the following from the primary document, quote, the systematic character of the racist relationship between Gabacho society and Chicano will not be altered unless social research becomes the basis for Chicano political strategy and action, end quote. There's a modern need for a reconceptualization of the antagonistic position of Chicano and Gabacho society, right? In Gabacho society, referring to the economy, the structure, and superstructure, as well as the cultural production under white supremacy. In order to rethink the Gabacho-Chicano binary, I utilize the methodology of activism and coalition building posited by Gloria Saldúa of remembering in order to reconceptualize and reinforce older epistemologies with new and contemporary theories. My arguments deconstruct this binary intertwined with my own research project as Chicano interactions and interact with Chinese transnational capital in the urban-suburban area of the West San Diego Valley, located in the eastern part of the greater Los Angeles area. interesting enough, I first learned about my personal experience in the San Gabriel Valley as a viable polemical issue as an undergraduate in Dr. Jennifer Fernandez's class, and she's studying tomorrow. So when she assigned to us the work with Linda Ochoa, so that's when I was first exposed to this idea of the San Gabriel Valley, which was my own experience, and I began to see it as something I could potentially study. Thus, it is imperative that we reconceptualize the traditional binary position of race as capitalist, and capitalism is no longer only reliant on Gabacho exploitation, as contemporary Chinese transnational capital, for example, exploits and invests around the world. Therefore, the Chicano-Chicanec experience in the San Gabriel Valley is unique, but also descriptive of a global pattern that reflects the current mode of production. Consequently, how we understand race as a process of signification, exploitation, and coalition building must change its analytical angle. In my own work, I aim to study this through my conceptualization of what I call a spatial mestizaje, that internationalizes the contemporary urban Chicano experience in order to investigate the cultural, spatial, and racial shifts. As I described how a key premise of the plan has analytical relevancy and impact on my future work, I now turn towards the political application of the plan today with the neoliberalization of the university. Of its many political applications, El Plan creates guidelines on community engagement that are necessary today. We are able to see its foundational importance in the first panel by the former participants. Specifically, today we must engage in epistemological, methodological, and ethical shifts which allow how we link Chicano studies with community involvement that deconstruct the extractive foundations of academia. In other words, integration into the community is not only for the purpose of curriculum enhancement, but material impact. This can happen through the reconceptualization of action research. Not to fall into the trap of instrumentalism, as Catholic Professor Solomon would say, but where engagement with the community is more than solely access to and survival within the university space. It is important for community engagement to focus on material betterment, policy change, and importantly, utilize its position as a unique discipline to equate and value community activism with traditional scholarship. A demand for methodical community engagement can help fight the alienation inherent in academia, as there becomes a constant interaction and communication with community members at a personal and political level. This is a necessary paradigm shift that will step up to a plan which I aim to implement in my future role as a professor within the discipline. For instance, currently I am working with different faculty and an undergraduate student here to bring environmental justice Chicano activist Mark Lopez from Los Angeles to campus in order to utilize the university to support the organization ECR Communities for Environmental Justice, as well as set a foundation with the aim of pairing undergraduate majors with local grassroots organizations that work, react, and confront the immediate material exploitative realities that disproportionately affect working class folks of color. El Plan continues to have applications today, yet we must read it dialectically in order to study its analytical and political impact. As I conclude my presentation, I want to give an important thank you to the presenters in the first panel whose work and sacrifices have allowed me to proudly be here today and situate myself in this genealogy. Thank you.
Thank you, Alejandro. Our next presenter is one of our undergraduates, Yasmin Dominguez. So, Yasmin,
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Hello, everyone. My name is Yasmin Dominguez. I was born in San Jose, and I was raised in the Bay Area, which is very different from most of you. But I'm a third year undergrad student. I'm majoring in political science and minoring in history. So I want to study the department, but I do identify as Chicana. My parents immigrated here 25 years ago, so it's pretty recent compared to most other people. And so I am the first in my family to attend college. My older brother was the first person to graduate from high school. So for my family, I'm very fond. And also that added that I'm Ms. Garcia's research assistant, so I've had the pleasure to work with Ms. Garcia over so many different projects across different topics. But one of the biggest things that I found myself constantly reflecting also is that I've been working with Ms. Garcia's conference, which I'm so happy everything's going well. Hopefully everyone's enjoying the conference so far. But one of the things I kept reflecting on is Garcia's archives. So if you'd like to see them, I recommend going to the library, South School Book. We're more than happy to show you. They're in the research special collections. But what I found were articles and newspapers dating back from 1969 or 1968, a little before Atlanta Santa Barbara was actually printed. And so these articles, originally now it's called the Mexican Spirit PCSD, but before they were called Gasmayas. And so I would see these articles of Chicano students, the ones you saw earlier in the panel, discussing about incidents about a certain issue and whatnot. And so this is just a proof of the momentum building up to what this whole conference is about, essentially, Atlanta Santa Barbara. Thank you, yes. Thank you. I was so sad. I wasn't able to show some, but thank you so much. Yeah, so there's so many different articles. So what Chicano students found at the time was an identity that wasn't being very much talked about, which is hence why we created Santa Barbara. But even then, this archive also demonstrates what Chicano students have created, the Raza magazine. So during this time, these Chicano students would create their own poetry, their own stories, and create letters reflecting about themselves. And so what I wish I would have brought some, unfortunately, due to time constraint, I'm not able to show you, but again, but so as I'm looking at these newspapers, they're old and they're yellow and like the print is so funny, but it was super interesting and it truly amazes me today to realize how far we've gone. So for example, unfortunately I wasn't here to hear the 1969 panel because I was in fact prepared to go book. But before the panel, I would ask things like this. I'm not sure who said it. It was one of the panelists. They were saying roughly on the line that at the time there was only 50 Chicanos, and now there's roughly 5,000. And I was kind of curious, so I decided to Google how much Chicanos there actually are here now. So in the previous academic year, there accepted 4,441 Chicano students, plus 1,348 Latinos. So in total, that does make roughly 5,000 students. So yes, we have progressed. And while yes, we must applaud the victory that we made, it's also important to realize that Atlanta Santa Barbara is very relevant because it's clear and it's loud, but it's not enough. We still have such a long way to go. Because I personally know dozens of students, and I'm sure all my colleagues do too, of students who have dropped out of UCC, unfortunately. And what do these students have in common most of the time? Is that they're people of color, they're first generation, they come from a low income background. And so it's not that they're not smart enough, but it's just that, at least in most higher education institutions, it's difficult for students like us who've never had anyone in our family, not having one to really talk to, really succeed. And so I really want to give a special thanks to DOP for having counselors who look like us, to empathize with us. And so to have that is so essential. And having that equity resources that one may not realize is needed at the time, but for students who again have never had these resources in the first place, is so essential. And so again, I didn't hear the first panel originally, but I was able to hear someone ask one of the panelists a question of 50 years from now, what would you like to see change? And I was thinking to myself, well, the answer was great. They were talking about electronics and the government and whatnot, but I'd also like to see more professors and more counselors and more advisors who look like this and who can empathize with us to get it to a point where we could have high retention and where we could have students be comfortable in these spaces and not feel left out because there are students who could be thrown away. And unfortunately, in 50 years from now, that may not change, but it's something we can keep progressing towards. So, in conclusion, aside from the 50th anniversary, aside from having these 2 days where we truly reflect upon Santa Barbara, I wanted to continue beyond that, having an everyday conversation, reflecting why we're here, how far we've grown, how far we need to continue to continue on. Thank you.
Curiosity. Our next presenter is one of our undergraduate students in the department, Mario Pinado. So, Mariano.
Hi everyone, that's me. And the title of my talk today is, I added a bit to it after I heard Tomas speak. It's titled From Low Class Junior to High Tech Aztec. Oh, sorry.
Hello, it's much better. So hi everyone, my name is Mariano Boteo, and the name of my talk is From Low Class Beginner to High Tech Aztec, Developing Historical Consciousness Through Technology. So I am from Illinois. I grew up in the Southwest, so when I hear Aslan being really in the Southwest, I feel kind of salty. Like, where is Chicago? Where am I supposed to be? And yeah, right. But there is a term I heard recently, like Chicago Aslan. People just say it like Aslan in Chicago. But it's with that said, growing up during the Obama administration in the 21st century, I didn't really see myself growing up like many people. Growing up in Chicago was really black and white and not much brown that I got to see outside of my community. I didn't see anyone on TV. So when I went to undergrad, I decided to major in history because I just had such a affinity for learning about how we got to where we're at. And you mentioned going to the newspapers. That's something I love as well because going and seeing old photos is hilarious to me because look at what people were wearing, look at where they were and where we are now. And there's a lot coming back. So what I was focusing on really was how technology can be used today to get us back to that social justice, I guess, aura that we had then. And this I'm quoting from page 95 of the plan, which is my favorite aspect of it. It starts talking about the Santa Barbara model of the program, and on page 95 it reads, academically, Chicano studies will provide the student the necessary technical and educational skills to interpret his social world and to understand its relation to other social worlds. For the Chicano, it is clear that his world is shaped by historical forces beyond the barrio and this country. So, developing historical consciousness through technology is something that can be done through photographs or through video recording. But what I focus on is we now all have technology in our pockets. We all have a phone. We can all share stories and share narratives that at once were not believed. We can record police brutality. We can record injustices and share them with one another. To think if a phone would have been around, like a cell phone at least, right? We could then organize some social media. Anyways, I need to get back to my actually written piece. But despite never formally being trained, technically, into lacking financial resources growing up in a widowed household, I still made it a priority of mine to self-educate myself on utilizing media technology for storytelling purposes. We continue to witness the power of media to influence popular opinion and shape public policy. So what I'm getting at is that technology is becoming more and more affordable. But our time is not, especially not when considering the social constructions that place unfavorably many children who would otherwise have the opportunity to use technology and learn to press a few buttons to make a living like many of us do when we get to get on our computers or type up a paper, or when we get to get in our cars to get to work. So since a kid, I was studying for learning to use technology because I knew it would be my only way out of poverty. It is when you have the least that you do the most. And in my case, not having access to technology did not stop me from learning theory or practicing with whatever resources I had around me. I made it a mission to go to school and learn how to manipulate technology to tell stories of history in educative and entertaining ways, and that's what I want to do today. So I asked myself, like, what's the purpose of a Chicano Studies degree today? Because what I've gone through, it becomes like an ethics studies degree. Like, where's the ethics studies degree? Well, here's a bit of a short story. This past summer, I was in the Blue Horizons program, which is a program put on by the Brand Environmental School of Science and the Film Media Studies Department that that focuses on issues related to the Central Coast and the environment. And I was the only grad student there with 25 undergraduates who all wanted to do stories related to the Thomas Fire and the recovery efforts that were done to, clean up the mudslide and get people back to working. Well, a lot of stories focused on Santa Barbara, focused on Montecito, and focused on what people who already have the means to fix their circumstances are doing to continue that.
And that was terrible because there was a lot of undocumented workers who were impacted by forest fires, and there wasn't really much like media around that, you know. So I wanted to, along with two undergraduates, discover more about that story. And it's through that that we were able to go to Oxnard and work with MyCop, which is a Mixteco Indigenous cooperative program, that we met the farm workers who were out in the field without masks, who thankfully had cell phones to record these travesties and report back to OSHA and say, hey, these companies are not telling you the truth. Because just imagine back then if the fire happens, what proof do you have? Nothing outside of someone's word. And I guess, you know, ultimately what I'm getting to is the power of technology is something that we need to invest in further, especially in our courses. I apologize, I'm getting so in my head right now, just thinking about all this tech, like I'm serious. Anyways, I will add with one other thing. So, sorry, probably. Okay, so this is continuing with the previous part. So it follows that a meaningful Chicano studies curriculum is one that moves outwardly from the barrio to the world community, especially the part of the world denominated third world. The end result will be that students will be able to know themselves, and also they will be able, upon graduation, to change the community. As teachers, social workers, administrators, politicians, and simply as reflective and responsible human beings, they will be prepared to change what needs to be changed, and preserve those values and traditions vital to the human community. So I'm hoping that through all this rambling, what can be taken away from it is take photos of being brown and living your life. If you go to the history textbooks, you will not see what we went through during the Great Depression. That's not going to be on the pages. So we have to create our own archives, right? And we're not letting outside do so.
Thank you, Mariam. And now we have one of our other undergraduate students, one of the Chicano Studies major, Alondra Aguilar.
Hi everyone, my name is Alondra Aguilar and I'm a sociology and Chicano Studies double major. And I'm from the Central Valley, a small town called Blue Lake, California. It doesn't have any stoplights. The only chain food restaurants we have are Little Caesars and Subway, so coming here was a very big culture shock. So I really thought I had lost the chance to learn about my culture, my community, and my history in high school. The first and only time they offered a Mexican-American history class was during my senior year, at the same time as another AP course I was enrolled in. Now that I think about it, it's actually a representation of what is valued in academia. I took that AP course because I was told it would benefit me more. I mean, in a way it did, but I probably would have loved that Mexican-American history class. I don't even remember what the AP class was. Little did I know what awaited me in the future. By my second quarter at UCSD, I was enrolled in my first Chicano Studies course. And well, since then, me and my education have not been the same. Ever since that quarter, I have been enrolled in at least one Chicano Oral Studies course every quarter. This is more than me trying to complete the major. I have absolutely loved all of the courses I have taken. Chicano Oral Studies classes are not like other classes. As Islam writes, through Chicano Studies, Chicano students intend to study and legitimize their cultural heritage, which I feel is immensely accurate. Academics need culture, there is a sense of validation, it's a community in the academic world. There is truly something special about this department that Islam Santa Barbara demanded the establishment of. The professors care about you beyond your academics and are approachable. Students in the classes are friendly and friendships are quickly established. Even when you walk through the halls of the Chicano Studies department, there's this welcoming and uplifting feeling. With time, you develop a better understanding of yourself and feel at home. I remember when I was walking through the arbor one day during my first year, and a girl approached me and asked me, "Do you want to be an activist?" I replied no, and walked away as fast as I could. Reflecting on that interaction now, I realized I had said no because I thought being an activist only meant me putting my body out on the street. If I could go back and change my answer, I would instead say, I'm already an activist. From but not limited to art making, theater workshops, history, literature, and language politics courses, Chicano O Studies has such a variety of classes that help you realize you're already an activist by being at this university, getting an education, and spreading the knowledge you inherit. Chicano O Studies Department has made me realize that I have been an activist all along. Through my art, writing, and teaching, as well as working for the department itself as a peer advisor, I have embodied being an activist because there are different types of activism. The movement is not separate from the educational system. The educational system is the movement. Knowledge that is given in classes is more than just writing essays and taking tests, and later forgetting about it, like I did with my AP class. The knowledge of continuous inequality and marginalization that the Latino O community faces is not something that you can just know about and not want to do something about. The knowledge becomes the driving force to be further involved.
Thank you, Alondra. My next speaker is another undergraduate and a recent transfer from one of our community colleges, Jaime Alvarez Armenta. So, Jaime.
Yeah, hi. I would like to first start off by thanking Professor Garcia for inviting me to participate in this panel, in this event. I would also like to thank the Chicanos of the past for their struggle, their sacrifices, and their fight. And of course, the Chicanos 50 years ago for coming together and drafting a Plan de Santa Barbara. If it wasn't for you, for any of you, I wouldn't be here today. Is that better? All right. So a little bit about me. I come from the San Fernando Guardian Housing Projects in Pacoima. So sometimes people kind of are taken back by the way I speak. Sometimes they think I'm a little bit combatant or a little bit angry, but I think I'm just passionate. You know, I learned from a young age that you have to make some noise if you want to make something happen. You know, you have to put some type of like front in order for people to respect you, respect your character. So that's a little bit about me. I do want to start off by describing what Chicano means to me, defining the term. So Chicano is not a culture, it is not a nationality, it's not a skin color. Chicanismo and Chicano is an identity, a mentality. Chicano is a term that creates unity instead of creating division. Brown people are Mexican, Salvadorian, Guatemalan, Honduran, Nicaraguan, and other denominations. But these nationalities, these identities create friction between each other. When a Mexican person meets a Salvadorian, for example, there is a level of animosity between each other. They both look at each other as being racist and oppressive. A Mexican person has to carry the weight of the mistreatment towards Central Americans in the United States and the rapes and assaults that occur in Mexico and La Bestia. So with all of this, I'm asking, how can we unite? How can there be brown unity? Having these labels creates division. This is why we need to unite under one term, and Chicano provides this umbrella of unity. By accepting the term Chicano, we blur the lines of division, and we provide each other with the possibility of brotherhood, of sisterhood, of peoplehood. Chicanismo will in turn create brown unity, and this is where I propose something that's out of the ordinary, which is brown nationalism. We students, as representatives of our community, have an obligation not only to ourselves, but to the people we left behind, to study, to learn as much as we can, and then to go back to the barrios. We need to go back to control our economy, to invest in our companies, to supply jobs and training to our people, and to buy homes, and to provide the leadership that is desperately needed in our society. We need to make our people politically responsible. We need to break away from the voter apathy that runs rampant in our society. By doing so, we can control not only our economy, but also our politics. Having people who actually represent us, not just people who look like us, that come around every 2 to 4 years seeking re-election and then disappears into the political machine that engulfs the barrios. We need to make our people politically responsible and politically aware. This is how the Anglo-American has been able to conquer and control us. They organize us and they stick together and they make their voices heard. We, however, do not wish to control or conquer anyone. We just want and need to create an opposing power to break away from the shackles of oppression. They have been promising us equality for hundreds of years, but all that we have gotten is token equality. And this goes beyond the Republicans and the Democrats. I mean, it's very clear who we have as president now. and how he has made his intentions very clear that he would rather have us on the other side of the Mexican border to make his country great again. But we cannot overlook what President Obama did or failed to do, not only for his community, but ours as well. He gave us DACA, and we're supposed to be grateful for that? This is token equality. This is not a path to citizenship. This is not even residency. This is another way for government to tax us and to use us as economic cash cows. We shouldn't even need amnesty. My people have been roaming these lands for thousands of years. My people have been here before this America knew this place even existed. My people have been reduced from kings and queens to peasants, from landowners to people working those same lands. So the time is now to unite as Chicanos, as brown people, and defeat these Anglo-oppressive forces that continue to plague our communities. Thanks to the Plan de Santa Barbara, we do now have a Chicano Studies Department. But upon learning our history, our people have awakened, right? But it has gotten us angry. But we need more than that. We need to move past the speeches, the classrooms, the universities, and we need to apply what we have learned in our communities. Our people are asleep, and we need to awaken them. If we don't go back, the next generation will go through the same struggles we have gone through today. And 50 years from now, those same generations will be talking about the same problems in the 100-year anniversary of El Plan de Santa Barbara. So if we don't go back to our barrios, our culture will be confronted as it is now with gentrification. We need to wake up and understand who our enemies are. The conservatives, at the very least, let us know that we're not wanted. They wear their racism in their sleeves, or hats in this case. It is these liberals that we need to be wary of, these so-called woke people who claim to be our allies in this fight for equality. These same people stab us in the back, taking our culture, our identity, along with our neighborhoods. They set up art galleries, they destroy our small business, and by moving into our communities, they raise the prices of rent, making it inhospitable for our people to live. And this is an isolated event. This is happening all over Los Angeles, in Highland Park, in Eagle Rock, in East LA, in North Hollywood, in Silver Lake. And it's also happening in the Bay Area, in South San Francisco and Oakland. So it's only a matter of time before it happens to all of us, to all of our communities. This is why we need to go back and to cement our place in our communities and stop this malignant cancer that is eroding away our neighborhoods. This is a problem that transcends Chicano communities. This is also affecting the Black and Asian communities. So I'm asking, what is it that we're fighting for? It's not only brown rights, it's not only Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ rights, or women rights. What we're all fighting for is equality. This is why our leadership needs to sit down not only with our communities, but other communities as well. And they will see that what we're fighting for is equality. I am, for one, willing and able to work with anyone, not just my community, that is willing to change this wretched society. We need to unite now or forever be the victims. But the fight ahead is treacherous. Our opponent is monstrous. Our odds are slim. But what are odds to the descendants of the great Mayans, the great Pipiles, the great Incas, the Purépechas, the mighty Aztecs, the Mexicas? If the Peninsulares did not break our spirit, what can this Anglo-American do to us that it has not done to us already? We need to stop begging the government to change, and we need to change it ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. And our next speaker is Gwendolyn Hurtado, who is a Chicano Studies major. And so, Gwendolyn, comments, please.
Hi, I'm Gwendolyn Hurtado. I'm going to be speaking about the Plan de Santa Barbara and also my experience at UC Santa Barbara. I want to start off with thank you to Mario and everyone who worked in creating my Plan de Santa Barbara. For me, I did have a really tough experience here my first year at UCSD. I had a lot of roommates who didn't really make me feel welcome, and it was very scary. And to me, I did want to go back home, and it wasn't great. But my mom and also other peers around me were kind of encouraging me and telling me, like, no, you can't have like, these people trying to make you smaller and all that stuff. I just want to thank. Also, when we were listening to the panel here, how everybody kind of goes through the same experiences, to me, I felt like this was home, as well, like I'm not alone. So it was very, very awesome that we had those experiences. With the Plan de Santa Barbara, I had the opportunity to learn more about the rich history of the Latino community, the community that I am part of. When I first came to Santa Barbara, I was on the track and cross country team and wanted to major in communication studies. I found that this was not the best choice for me after taking one introduction class to communication. I was then the help coordinator performing in class because of something I was very interested in. The same year quarter, I was taking the introduction to Chicano Studies 1A with Professor Garcia, and found out that I didn't know everything about the Chicano history. This was the second time I had heard about the blowouts and walkouts, but never really went into depth how we did in this class. I was very interested and fascinated by everything that I learned in this class, and decided to take more classes. It wasn't until spring of last year that I switched my major to Chicano Studies, because I realized that Chicano Studies is something that I enjoy to read, talk, and write about. With the Plan de Santa Bárbara, I am able to study the history and the struggles that Chicanos have faced, and to see where we are now, starting from the beginning. In the Plan de Santa Bárbara, they fought for students to have classes to be able to be prepared to transition from being in high school and advancing into college. Many of these students did not have access to certain resources like myself that prepared them for college, and at times that was a disadvantage. For me, I didn't know about UCSB until I started to consider going to college for running. But I was fortunate enough to have a mother and that went to college and a counselor that was very dedicated to getting these students to further their education. I participate in sports at the collegiate level. If it weren't for them, I would have never considered college or known how important college was. Many of these students do not have access to counselors that are dedicated to helping these students advance to college, or have the support to help these students become successful. In order for success to happen, it has to start early. So the students that are in middle school, high school, or even maybe even elementary, but those are the ones that have the most potential to create change and success, and change the narrative that has been written by society, that about 53% of Chicanos drop out of high school and do not further their education. In the plan, one of the requirements for colleges were to admit and recruit Chicano students, faculty, staff, and administrators. This was necessary because many of the classes and the education that was being taught in schools were excluding other ethnic studies, and they were not integrating relevant history. The importance of having this program was that this program allows for the students to be exposed to other important issues and history that has been left out. This was not only for the Chicano community, but also for other ethnic backgrounds that included Black studies and American studies. The problems that Chicanos face are institutionalized, and they have to be changed. Change has to come from the beginning, in early on education, middle schools, high school, and even as early as elementary school. If these structures are not addressed and changed, then Chicanos will not be able to rewrite the narrative and be able to decolonize and break the cycle. And for me, I believe that we are the generation that are able to break that cycle and create a better future for our community. This is a fundamental document for Chicanismo and the Chicano movement. This document not only opened doors, but it allowed for change to happen, which we are seeing today, like having a more diverse government and the recent elections that we have had. Change of not only ethnic backgrounds coming together, but also powerful women that are stepping into the spotlight and being able to shine. This is only the beginning for us, and we have a long way to go, but as a community, we have to stay strong and focused, and stay hungry for success as well. I know I am. One of the things keeping me motivated are my goals and reaching those goals. And I will also leave you with a quote from Nelson Mandela that I always use, I always listen to, and re-say like in my head. And that personally fits in any situation when I have doubts. And that is, a winner is a dreamer that never gives up. Because I have big dreams and I still have to accomplish that. And we don't give up.
Thank you, Gwendolyn. Let's give a big hand to the entire panel. We have 2 minutes for questions, comments, reflections to the panels, or any of you have reflections just on your own about your own experiences. This is a good time to also address them. So I see it here. I'll get to you.
Hi, my name is Francisco. I use the pronoun Capital Isla. So my question for all, first of all, thank you all for being here and coming to us. I'm really grateful that you came here and took time out of your day to be here. My question specifically is about the military-industrial complex and how it's very pervasive in our communities. I think that I'm kind of struggling with how to navigate that because it's very essential in my family, and I think a lot of us have that because it's very common in communities to have a role in the military. And I think that there's no recognition of how a lot of military recruiters would be very predatory towards a lot of black and brown communities, and how a lot of the military is very violent against a lot of black and brown communities. And I think that it kind of diminishes opportunities for coalition building with groups like Palestinians, groups like other black and brown communities that are affected by American imperialism. And I think that in our conversations about liberation in Chicano studies, I don't think that we can truly be liberation until we abolish the military, abolish police, and abolish prisons. So I think that if we have, so how do we kind of frame these conversations in circles and kind of build up politics around that while meeting people?
Maybe someone from the panel or someone from the other people might respond to that. Before that, let's give a nice hand. We've got a number of students that came down from California, San Francisco. It's wonderful to have them. Anyone from the panel wants to react to that?
What I think the government has done a really good job in promoting and marketing what it means to be a U.S. military man, right, or Marine. I mean, I see those commercials sometimes. I'm like, oh, maybe I should jump in the pool and become a Marine as well. So they have done a good job, but I think it all stems from us going back to our neighborhoods, right? We have to go back and tell the people that there's more to life than just to join the Army. I have a lot of friends that have lost their lives in the military, people who have come back that they have never been the same. So we need to have this talk, but we can't just do it in academia. There's only a small percentage of people that we're reaching here. There's a very, very minuscule population of Latinos, Chicanos, and then at this level, that's why we need to go back. We need to go show them that there's a different route, a different way to achieve the success that they want to achieve. And we also have to change the narrative of what it means to be a macho machismo, because that has a lot to do with it as well.
Thank you so much for bringing up this question. And I think it's also important to note that they are now recruiting on campuses, so they are now in UC Santa Barbara. And I agree, it's very predatory, and it is a very important conversation to have. And I hate to be that graduate student that always wants to talk about capitalism, but here I am. I want to say that it is very much directly connected to our economic reality, right? So the reality is that coming out of high school, people need a career, they need to make money, there's something that needs to happen, right? And us at the university, we understand these structures, we understand what's going on, we understand that it's larger than someone wanting to join an imperialist army, right? It's a matter of survival. It's a matter of these folks literally trying to gain citizenship through an ideological way. So by joining the military, it's almost like you're able to be seen as human in this nation, although we know that that's not true, but that's the dream that the military sells. So I think that it's important to be very critical of all of this and not to just see it as black and white, like the military is evil, but we need to understand that the reality is that people in our communities are trying to survive, and the military is a way to survive for them. So how can we be critical more extensively than just the military is evil, let's abolish it, we should abolish it, but let's also think about the economic realities and always center capitalism, always understand how it's benefiting in all of these different
Comment or question from the audience?
It's probably a really ignorant question, I feel, already ignorant going to ask it, but how come it focuses more on Chicanos or Chicanics opposed to Latinx? When it talks about the Chicano movement, what about the Latino movement? Because that's more inclusive and that's more, and I might say Latino, but I don't think it decides Chicano. And so that's just, I don't understand that.
I guess in the modern context, let me read like a list of the book it is, Latino question. I think it really addresses that, understanding how Latino becomes a broad term that really homogenizes the group and doesn't illuminate the internal class contradictions that exist. We have Latino, beautiful Latin America, and each U.S. has different ways to different Latin American countries. So being Latino, being a Cuban Latino, as opposed to being a Mexican Latino, or blue light, these class contradictions that exist. So they're saying Latino as a political platform isn't equating the reality, right? That's kind of then kind of promoted identity politics.
They're all derogatory, or not derogatory, but they're all looked at as under, I don't want to say less than, but if it's not a Latino, it's not from the, it's not my opinion, but it's all looked at as a lower, how do I phrase it? I can't put the correct way. It's all looked at as, lower status. I mean, which is still not perfect, but it's, I don't understand how it's not, because wouldn't that be more than term for what is that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I guess back in the day, the term that was used was Hispanic. That was a term that was placed on us as a government because they didn't know how to identify. When I look at Chicana or Chicano, I look at the term saying that I am going to give back to you. I am responsible because the ones before me got me here. So I have to give back to you. Latino, I think, would be another word where they put everybody together. But to me, the worst word is Hispanic. That's just like I mean.
Question or comment or reflection?
You got to understand that moment in history of this country. And it's just not, you asked the question of Latino, that's a very important question because it goes to the whole area concept that we developed later on in the Chicano movement. But you got to remember that there was, before, and I ask this to the Mexicans all the time, when did you become Mexican? If you look at history, the Mexicans become Mexicans until 1823. Before that, there was Californians, there was Tejanos, there were Mexicanos, Colorados. There was people that had been here for hundreds of years. Some of them became part, in the middle of the tribe over here. Some of them, in some places, didn't mix. But there was people over here with, like some of one of the slogans you hear once in a while on immigration reform, the border didn't, I didn't cross the border crossed us, right? Because people have been here already. At the same time, you see the migration that happens after this part of the United States becomes part of the United States. And it's conquered, right? So we have people that continue to migrate to this country. And there's been different ways of migration to this country. And those people, earlier I heard somebody from third generation, people are five generations. Some people are no longer generation because they're not getting into the animal society. But there's people that are just getting a few weeks ago, are also part of our community. You said the word Hispanic. A lot of people don't realize the word Hispanic is a fascist term. During World War II, the Nazis, Lolo Franco, which had put power in Spain, and they convinced them to send Spaniards into Veracruz to start promoting la Hispanidad to turn against the United States, because we're preparing for World War II. The Latino concept that we developed in the Chicano movement was what we call the Curo Latin America when we started seeing what was happening in Latin America. The coups, the big one that influenced a lot of us, the coup in Chile. They don't know the coup d'etats that were going on in South America. And a lot of us picked up the term Latino because of the Bolivarian concept. And if you look at the history, it's really interesting. A few years ago, I found out that the first Latino fraternity was a Bolivarian underground fraternity in New York. And it was made up of a lot of the ruling class Bolivarians of Latin America, especially from South America, that were uniting to come to the United States to get educated, to study the Americans so they can go back to the country and unite Latin America. So I would encourage you in your studies, and I'm amazed of the intelligence of the stable, that you read history. It's very, very important to read history. Because if we don't understand history, they're going to fool us. They're going to tell us different things, especially right now with all the media that we have, with all this fake news, all this fake comments that you hear all the time. They're going to try to fool us. Yeah? Right now, today, we're right in the middle of confrontation with Venezuela. Right? Somebody brought up the Muslim complex, it's going to be there. And we're looking at a war in Latin America. We're looking at an idiot in the White House, and I was really optimistic that we were going to keep this campaign promises that we're not going to get into the wars. So we pulled out of the Middle East and now we're going to Latin America. So it's very, very important right now that we take the Latino and understand that we're part. It's the Rio Grande, it's the Patagonia, or if you want to go all the way to Montana, it's the Montana, it's the Patagonia, of one people, and we're going to fight American imperialism, and we're going to make sure that our countries, our people are being destroyed like they did in the Middle East.
Unfortunately, we are out of time, but there's three things more. Number one is tomorrow we resume again the conference at 9 o'clock. Very exciting program tomorrow. It begins at 9 o'clock in the Multicultural Center. Number two, alums, faculty, administrators were invited to go to the reception over at the Alumni Center. So those of you that don't know the way, you can congregate up here, we can escort you over there. And lastly, on behalf of my co-organizer, Professor Aldana, I want to thank you all for being here. I think we had a wonderful, wonderful day, tremendous presentations. So thank you all very much. Hope to see all of you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for thank you.
Yo, man, are you part of any organization?
I'm not.
Right now.
No, I'm not.
I had a question.
Yeah.
I didn't ask.
25.
Bullets?
Yeah.
I don't have that one.
No, I'll be 25.
I just wanted to ask, how would y'all use the Climate logo to disrupt the gender binary? I asked that because of how gendered the language is, as well as like being trans and migrating into.
I guess I was. I had it back.
Presenters, of course, are also invited to the reception.
But it sucks.
I know.
So how do you think you can disrupt the binary with climate change? By whether by including different folks or like by doing something different? What do you have?
I think I would include personally by changing the spelling of Chicano and have it spell it with an XI, and that XI harkens back to Nahuatl, more indigenous understanding of language, and with that too comes indigenous understanding of gender, more than just two, right?
Yeah.
It could be and then with Chicano.
It's an X, and then
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. XI.
Oh, that's what
It's talking about bringing it back to an hour.
Yeah. I meant like change the last word to SI, and I was like, that doesn't make sense. We're all
I have a different take on it, right? Just
on like phonics
on
or like
everything, on everything, but especially in fun. I think there's a lot of problems with it.
wait, in what?
I think there's a lot of problems with it. You know, reading. I read like twice, 3 times before coming here, but it seems like they fall short on a lot. Yeah, they fall short on a lot. There's a lot of promises, and there's a lot of. I mean, we're here for a reason. Nothing has changed. They can make the argument that it has, and I make the argument that it hasn't. If anything, things have gotten worse.
Yeah.
I mean, my people are still dying in my city blocks. You know, my people are still starving, and I mean, I'm one out of I don't know how many people that have been able to make it here, and that to me is a travesty.
Yes.
Right. The problem that you're presenting is totally different. It's totally fair because it doesn't include everybody. Right. That's why I kind of molded my speech this way. That I feel like with all these terms creating division, even within our groups, if we could focus on one, like an organ, not maybe not even a term, but like I'm a political scientist, I'm political in politics, right? I like the model of the UN, not what it stands for, but the model that everybody gets to keep their identities, but we all come together under something. So like if we all want to fight for, let's say, the kids that are being locked up in cages in the border, right? It's something that we should all talk about together because it doesn't affect one group, it affects all of us. So we just don't to talk about it. But as representatives of different communities, of different groups, because I can't tell you what LGBT person thinks. Like, I'm not. I can't tell you that. I think the unfair for me to speak for them. But if we have a representative coming to me telling me these are our problems, we need help with this, then we can help. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So then, if you say that by uniting us, like I mean, not us. Sorry, I'm not even anywhere close. I'm not even. So, and I'm very low. Anyway, my bad. But I mean, so by uniting, if you choose to unify under one term, then doesn't that factor into the inclusion of other people though? Which is also like why it's so. Where do you go with it?
So that's why it's equality. If you're equal, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what sexuality you identify with or anything else. The skin color, it doesn't. Unity and equality is equality regardless. Why should I care what anybody else has to feel? Like as long as it doesn't directly affect the group's main objective, why should we have different interpretations of what equality is? To me, that doesn't make any sense. If you're equal, you're equal.
Yeah.
Equality is equality.
But what about equality versus equity? What about that conversation?
That's what we need to sit down and talk about. Right? Like, that's what we need to sit down together and talk.
Yeah.
Like, my whole thing is equality. Everybody's equal, everybody's fine, but you're proposing something else different now. They're throwing a wrench into it, which is totally fair.
I would be equity more than equality because, like, I look at baseball, look at like politics and stuff. So
if you look up like the equality versus equity,
and we never find that before somebody takes off the
it'll show up and then it'll be like the equality is like they all have the same equity means that you're giving them all the same opportunity to reach the same place, and there's liberation where like they're all skilled, where like that's like cool with the pictures. So then there's that question of like equality and how can we ensure that there is equality if there isn't?
well, because what I always come away with is inclusion, not equality.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're talking about, right? And that's what this seems like. But we're all equal. Well, you're included.
Yeah.
Okay, but my voice has more weight than yours because it's excellent, right?
Yeah.
What I'm saying matters just as much as what you're saying. And that is a hard question because a lot of people have come more to terms with deconstructing what gender means, like that's man, that's man, whatever. But we're still rooting in a gender system. Like we're still trying to understand what gender is in binary terms, or at least using binaries to move forward. I don't know if we think to remove that because I wish I was like a science person to tell you, we can start identifying ourselves between other characteristics.
Hi y'all, thank you so much. It was so
Thank you for coming.
Yes, I will be seeing you tomorrow.
Yes, as soon as you can tell, I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck's happening.
In my bike. Maybe you hang around California instead of going back to Champaign or going back to Chicago.
Yeah, why is that? Do we need some more Midwest blood out here?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Different things. Just comparing notes. They agree with each other. We just compare notes.
Okay, I'll see you later.
Even if I don't, because we both have that opinion. If you're going to publish something in the future, you got to be very careful with what you deal with words. The game of words, you got to be very careful with that. Because you don't want to turn away your audience. You want to come away for more information. So, in a sense, we have to be very creative.
Did you ever carve or anything?
No, I don't, but I'd be happy to give you my email. Yeah, write it down.
What is it?
It's pirate 49 at Yahoo. I was checking out my paper and I got it. My name is Hector. Culver. C-U-L-V from Victor.
Okay. Well, in Chicago, that was a chain called Culver.
Yeah, well, my dad's from Illinois. He's from Freeport.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
What a small world, huh?
Yeah, small world. Yeah. Hector, I'll be in contact for sure. All right, Mariano, once again.
Mariano,
Hey, going back to...
Send me an email. I have your email. Nope. Okay.
But Irish, why not copy 49?
That's the year I was born. And before the internet was at full speed, I worked for the government contractor. And those guys did all the latest technology. So they started to introduce, computers and all this. Where I was working in General Dynamics, and we're right there. So I have friends that were, getting into it and were into it. And we used to go out and pirate all kinds of shit. So I used to it's like, I'm a pirate, so I'm pirate 49. So that goes back a long time when the computer first came.
Okay, I like that though. I'm finishing up the email right now. With a simple introduction, right? Hello, from
and like what's your culture there? And yeah.
All right, I just emailed you right now.
Oh, wonderful. I'll take a look at it when I get back to the hotel. So I don't think I'm going to be here tomorrow because I only decided didn't know what was going on. And it's very beneficial. I haven't been in this environment in over 40 years.
Yeah, well, good.
Once I left here,
instead of staying long, you can go back to the ranch later.
I had already made appointments with people on my way down to San Diego, friends in Colorado, my sister on Sunday, and family kind of thing. And my dad's getting kind of old, 87, and said I had to learn what I want to do with my dad. Love the guy. But if it wasn't for that, I would stay. And just the lack of definition of what was going on. And I only came because I saw Yolanda Garza, and I think I told you that earlier, and Bill Villa. And they were two people that I wanted to see. So based on that, not knowing what else was going on, I decided to take that. So I took Thursday to get up here and be here in the morning to see them, and then go back tomorrow. So I'll probably go back tomorrow sometime. But if I hadn't here too long, I'll never get back tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, is there an opportunity maybe you could show up before the afternoon, or do you know what time you're going to be heading out?
Tomorrow, I'm going to be heading out. I figured I'm going to meet a friend of mine by between 1 and 2 o'clock at Carlsbad, which is just right south of Camp Pendleton. I'm not sure if you know the Highway 5. That's about 3 hours, 4 hours from here. So I got to get there by then. It should be 10 o'clock to then. Just just wouldn't be, yeah, it wouldn't be practical. You know, it'd be worth it, but it's just not practical. And I'm sure that's so many things. I mean, I'm getting ready to write a book right now, and I wanted to write that for a long time. You know, well, it's going to be the Chronicles of Lupito. But that's it. It's just about a kid that born in Mexico, mother married an Americano in Tijuana. Eventually, they lived there for 7 years. You can hear the feedback on the father while they're living in Mexico. And then from Mexico, they immigrate. And the first place they moved to was Hawaii. Wow, what a paradise.
What a jump.
Yeah. And Lupito's only 9 years old. So, in retrospect, Lupito grows up, he's a charitable student in school, looking in the military. His father's in the military already, so he goes in the military for the Vietnam War, right? So he goes into the military and decides that I don't want to be the bottom of the barrel, because that's what you are if you're an enlisted man. No disrespect for any enlisted non-officer, but it's just by rank, you know, I'd be sleeping at a sofa somewhere right there, and some guy would go, "Wait, want to get up?" Rank has his privilege, dude. Get out of that chair. So you're right. You understand that. So go on, and then so just he has a wonderful life. He has a life in Nam, a life in the Philippines, in the military. His encounters in the military. It's going to be probably, like I said, chronicles, different stages. Things in Mexico, you know, through high school, and you know, as it gets older, the ratings get a little different, you know, from GP to R, never to X, of course. But, you know, individuals change, people change, and what goes on in the year. And then he goes off to college, not even ready for college, because he never studied in high school, you know. He graduates like with a 1.5 just to get him out of school. He goes on and gets a master's. And then he goes on and gets another life, and then he gives away some family, this and that. And to be perfectly honest, I'm a dreamer, but not technically under the definition of a dreamer, because you know we came over originally, but I still live the American dream. Still living the American dream. And I know there's a lot of injustice out there, and we saw it. But some of the injustices that happen out there, once you get out of here, you see a different kind of injustice, right? And you never hear the word Chicano once I got out, unless I used it, unless I went to basic college where I was a counselor, and just think the way you said this. I'm listening to this, and I think I told you before. I heard this 40 years ago. And it's still hearing the same thing. So I'm going, okay. What about all these students that you're going to put out there to the world and go do their thing for the world? You have to take pride in that. You would take pride of that because they're so good. How can you make this environment better?
That's what I'm saying. Like, let's focus on the students. Let's focus on us.
We have to focus on the success of the students.
You're going to be taking some people to speak motion.
You know, what about that? I went to college with, you know, I had no idea what was failing getting laid out every time. So they wanted to use the course since I was the last hired, first hired. It wasn't first, no.
I was the best person.
But
let me know if you think I should come back.
My wife and I got a family.
Yeah, I'll email you, but I'm sure I can finish it within the
Can you find anything that looks like
that? I got a mortgage, and you know, I had other opportunities to go to work up the coast because I was a. You want to take a list? I don't even know what that list was called. It was a list of jobs.
Get all
up the state of California.
Get Mariano.
And then, let it go what you are, a counselor, a teacher, of whatever subject. I just threw away all my records, so I really can't help you out with that. But it was a national paper. They would send me letters, announcements, say, "Here, we got this position open. Palo Verdes, Monterrey, everywhere." And they would just beg me to come up for an interview.
for jobs, but because in San Diego there were no jobs.
Yeah.
The good teams stayed there. You didn't make a little niche. You couldn't find you couldn't get in because everybody had to die before you got a job. So I did part-time jobs that they didn't want to do, in the evening and everything. So those kind of things that took place. But yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun, and you just gotta concentrate and do that and remember that you're in a shelter environment right now.
Man, it's so sheltered. I need a city.
Yeah, you're into an environment that if you look at a bullseye, I might have mentioned this before. A picture of a bullseye is like this. The society of the world expands. And all those lines are different steps in the right direction. I don't know. This is the first time I used that analogy, but that's what it is. I see the education is this, bullseye.
Yeah.
And from that bullseye, everything comes out. And it's people like yourself that puts out that bullseye.
Yes, sir. Thank you so very much.
You brought me a line to speak now, with the media that we have, there, social media, emails, so much easier. I had got maybe 10 pictures of all my classmates, guardians. I got most of them at my daughter's first birthday. The band was singing, and and there was a congreso, and it was the boys, It's funny. It's just about it. We didn't have instant. I got my first camera when I graduated. That was my graduation. And like I said, my daughter was born in my junior year. That's her birthstone. She was born in May.
Is that okay?
Because the UC is blue.
Is that emerald?
Yeah, exactly. That's the May one. Yeah. And I decided that I wanted to.
I mean, she's the one that helped push you to the finish line, right?
Whenever the crop's going, you're gonna go to the ceremony. I mean, to the ceremony.
I have to delete that. Yeah, I'm working on it. I've been here. So.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, Alondra.